If you score in all likelihood, and perhaps the CFP. Jackson trying to turn the corner, and he did not get there. Darren McVay raced him to the pylon and made sure he came up inches short.
Welcome to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Cunningham into the end zone. Touchdown, Louisville.
Sikkim 365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Inside the 15. With Bryce Young. Young is going to take off running. Bryce Young, touchdown, Alabama. Does it with his arms, and now he does it with his legs.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
They go jumbo again on a 3rd and goal. They will run it to Elliott. He's in for the touchdown. He lost the ball, but I think he crossed the goal line first. It's a score for Dallas.
Now, here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
All right, here we go on this Tuesday afternoon, Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. We will have an interview today at 4 o'clock with a young man from Mary Hardin Baylor down in Belton. Of course, they have that dominant Division III program, who is going to be at the Manning passing camp. The only Division III player that I think, well, from what I could tell, we're talking about C.J. Stroud, among others, will be there, including Bryce Young, and he will be there. He'll join us today in about an hour. We have Off the Radar. We have the Top 5. We'll have news a little bit later on Deshaun Watson and the cases settlement. And, of course, John McClain will join us at 5:30, College World Series. Last I saw, 3-0 A&M leading Notre Dame. Notre Dame had a bad throwing error that set up some runs. We'll have news on Brooks Koepka as well to discuss that. But today, Richard Dice, theathletic.com, had an article about talking to various people, different networks, etc., including an interview with Jimmy Pitaro, who is the chairman of ESPN, and he dropped this little nugget. I don't think it might be just him speaking the company line, but that he feels like that Texas and Oklahoma will not be a part of anything SEC until 2025, which they're saying that as well. What do you think it means?
Well, I mean, his line was that the agreement they made was 2025, and that's what they planned on the whole time. And the way I think it means is ESPN's not going to pay any extra money or change anything because they've already got it all going out to get it done. So, yeah, they're not going to pay the exit fees for Texas and Oklahoma that they have to do to go earlier. So 2025 it is.
I don't necessarily believe that fully. I mean, things can change in the next 3 years. You know, I could definitely foresee a scenario where, you know, in a couple years, Texas and OU are just a bit fed up and ready to get out, and the SEC is ready to get them in. You know what I mean? Like, just the longer you wait, it's like when you know there's already the end of the relationship there. I mean, yeah, it sounds like, okay, yeah, well, it's just another 3 years. That's 3 freaking years, man. Like, that's a long time. And, you know, I think they're getting more and more of a taste right now during the College World Series of what life in the SEC is like and kind of their surroundings and how that's going to be. And I think that, yeah, we're not going to see them bolt in the next year, but I do think if there's any kind of an opening, I would not be surprised to see them take it. Now, what kind of an opening could there be? I don't know. But, yeah, I mean, it doesn't sound like the network is just going to bail them out and give them all the money to make it happen. But I'm not – I guess what I'm saying is I'm not ruling out that that's still a possibility even with what he's saying. Yeah. I just don't think it's it's 100%. But
no, it's not cut and dry.
No. But also, I think what's very interesting is if you read the interview that he did with Richard, was it Deitch? Deitch. I always get that backwards. Richard Deitch, I want you to tell me how many times he brings up the Big 12. And I want you to tell me how many times he brings up the SEC or the Big 10 or whatever other conference they have a deal with. The answer to how many times he brings up the Big 12 is 0. 0 times, even though he mentions very clearly the Pac-12 and the Big 10 and the SEC or whatever, specifically the SEC and the Big 10. There is no mention of the Big 12 in there. Now, I know their contract's not up for 2 or 3 more years, but that was of note to me because he's talking about the future. He's talking about college football. He's talking about all these things that they're doing, and he mentions other conferences, but there was one that he did not mention.
Well, once Texas and Oklahoma are in, again, this is Jimmy Patero, ESPN chairman, we will have 16 out-of-conference games, 1 per team. Well, with Texas and Oklahoma, that will be 2025. So in 2024, we'll have 14 games. That's how it all came up, and that was the deal we struck a year ago with the SEC. He did mention this as well about the Big Ten. They have been a big part of ESPN for a long time now. We have a great relationship with the Big Ten. They are certainly an ascending conference right now. I'm not talking about just football. I have a good relationship with their commissioner, Kevin Warren, but we love the Big Ten. I think everyone loves the Big Ten. They are in a very good position right now. And then they asked about the Pac-12. Is there less inventory because of our deal with SEC? Of course there is, but there's plenty of room. We are pushing both conferences, the Big Ten and the Pac-12. We absolutely are pursuing both. And you wonder at some point, and there's always been this, that CBS now has an opening. Will they go after the Big Ten, and will that leave room for the Big Ten to be a part of anyone else? And then what happens with Fox Sports and on and on and on. It's not a surprise. And even if he knew that maybe something was going to be different in a few months or maybe in a year, that's what he should say. He should keep the company line about 2025 with Texas and Oklahoma.
That's what he should say because that's what it is. And I think, if he were to have said, no, 2024, people would have been like, excuse me, what do you know that not everybody knows? And, given how this all sort of started and who was involved to begin with the mass OU and UT exodus, do you think that ESPN had any idea that was going on?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, I think we do. I think we all know that. Bob Bowlesby said that out and just said it. I think they've got to be more careful about what they say. And even if they that's what I'm saying is I don't fully believe that it's 2025 because I don't trust ESPN. I think that if they have an opportunity to get Texas and OU in a year earlier, they're going to take that opportunity. But here's another excerpt from it. He's talking about the Big Ten and the Pac-12, the question on whether ESPN's SEC deal and added inventory impacts whatever future interest ESPN might have in the Big Ten and Big 12. And again, this is from Richard Deitch, and this is from The Athletic. He says, he talks about their game inventory and how it's going to be 16 out-of-conference games once OU and Texas join and la-di-da-di-da. But then he gets into the other part, and he says, the great thing about that deal, the SEC deal, if I had to summarize it with one word, it would be flexibility. And he talks about having the marquee game on ABC at 2:30 or 3:30 for those on the East Coast, and where they're going to have all this SEC. But at the very end, it says, of course, however, we've been very thoughtful about this, and there's still plenty of room for Big Ten and Pac-12. We're pursuing both. No one should misinterpret. When we did this SEC deal, no one at ESPN said, okay, that means we're walking away from another conference. But his exact words are Big Ten and Pac-12, and that's all he said. There is zero mention of the Big 12 in this entire article. This is not a single mention of them. So that's what was on my radar in reading that, as well as the 2025 thing. But again, consider the source. So,
well, and look, ESPN at its core is a company that is on the coasts, right? Like that's what they've always been.
So they tried to be really hard too,
yeah. And so like they always tried to do that. Look, for the longest time, when the NHL was they were kind of throwing good money after bad with the NHL. The people who founded ESPN are all from Connecticut, so it's big to them, but they weren't getting any numbers with it. In the other parts of the country because it wasn't as big of a deal. Then that was before, teams like the Stars and Lightning started winning Stanley Cups and people thought, oh, hockey's cool. So they've gone through all these stages in there, but at their core, they're a company that cares about the coasts in this part, and the middle of it is kind of something they deal with. And when they did kind of go big in the middle of the country, they picked the biggest school in the biggest state in the middle of the country, in the University of Texas in Texas, and look where that is now. So yeah, I've if you really look at their moves over the years, the Big 12 has always kind of been an afterthought to them anyway. So now this is probably just getting to the point where they're saying the quiet part out loud of like, yeah,
we don't care about Middle America.
if it works out for us, fine. If not, we don't care. 22-year-olds who get married in Iowa are still going to come to Disney World, and it doesn't for their honeymoon. It doesn't matter to us. We're still going to make the money. And as far as Big 12 sports go, they can find somewhere else to live.
Yeah, it's just part of the discussion. Of course, every day there's something, and it may not be anything new other than the fact that's the chairman of ESPN. From Mike, I don't think the Big Ten will leave Fox. Don't forget Fox owns part of the Big Ten network. And from Steven, who has sent me on occasion some lengthy text messages that I try to get through, but I love the fact that he sends them to me. I don't think the Big Ten will leave. No, excuse me, this is from Stephen, thinking the Big Ten will be Fox because of relationships with the Big Ten network, which is exactly what Mike just said as well. As long as it's Fox, CBS, or ESPN, as far as your main core, whoever you are as a conference, that is imperative. You can't get along without that being the core one way or the other.
Yeah, but I think when you're looking at the Big Ten, you're not looking at they're going to be a Fox brand. They're going to be like 5 different things brand if they have their say. They're going to be an Amazon. They're going to be a Netflix. They're going to be a Disney. They're going to be an everything they can be to get the most money out of it. Now, granted, you're going to get to a part in your inventory where that 4th channel doesn't care so much about Indiana versus Northwestern or something. Like, it's just at some point that East Coast interest is going to die off or fizzle somewhat. But yeah, I think that the Big Ten is going to be a lot of different things based on all the stuff that I'm reading. They're not going to cap themselves on just being a one brand conference unless that brand delivers them well over $1 billion. I think what's interesting is you've got the Pac-12 who has deals with both Fox and ESPN, right? So they've got those 2 deals, and those run out in 23 and 24. Did Jimmy Pitaro mention the Pac-12?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, he did. Big 12 got an agreement. Two networks, expires a year after. Did he mention the Big 12? No, he didn't. So again, I go back to that. He very intentionally mentioned 2 other conferences. He did not mention the Big 12, even though the Big 12 is heavily invested with ESPN when you think about ESPN Plus and the games they run on there. I found that very interesting. But yeah, I don't think anybody's going to be really limited in themselves, especially, the Big Ten, to we're a CBS and that's it. It's going to be in as many places as they can get it, I would imagine.
Now, look, this is all very doom and gloom that we say it like, ESPN's out. But look, CBS has got to go somewhere with something. And the SEC to the Big 12 is kind of a nice cultural step over for them to where the audience is similar in their appetite for football, though maybe not as big a population centers when you talk about Iowa and Oklahoma and Kansas. But there will be, thirst for live college sports on Saturdays. The other good news is, people want live content because live content, you can't skip the commercials. You can't binge it. You can't do it. So live sports is one of the few things left that you absolutely, if you want to be, with it and in the now and knowing what's going on, that you have to watch. It's appointment television. So the only things left that are appointment television are that. Live sports are that. So that's why people want it. The only problem is that if there's not as much competition for you, your number goes down. So the Big 12 is going to get a nice TV deal, I think. But is it going to be one of the ones like the other conferences? Probably not.
I don't think anyone expects that. And if they do, you're going to be in for a disappointment. But that doesn't mean they won't be stable and have plenty of options of which they can get money and revenue fed into the conference at 14 teams.
No, there's going to be a network that wants to air their games. I'm not saying that there's not going to be anybody interested, but I think it's notable when you have a deal with the current network and this guy's mentioning their future college football deals and he's not mentioning your conference at all. Like, if that doesn't send off, and I'm not saying that to like go write an article like ESPN doesn't want the Big 12. I have no idea what it ultimately means, but it's notable. it's notable that he did not mention the Big 12, but he mentions the Pac-12, who has a deal coming up as well. So, we'll see. I mean, Big 12's got relationships with Fox. They got relationships with ESPN. I mean, ultimately, somebody's not going to get all of the Big 10 that they want or all of the Pac-12 that they want, and they're going to need something. And then the Big 12, maybe timing-wise, being the kind of the last in line, will benefit from that versus, being up. They'll benefit from being all that's left standing, perhaps. I don't know. I do think there's a market there. I'm not worried about that. I'm not worried about everybody's, money getting cut by, half or anything, but it'd be nice to be mentioned. That's all when you're talking future TV contracts.
They are also a network in which the Big 12 fired across the bow, and it ended it. And so there could, who knows, that might be something where I don't think he can't mention them. It just might be something he's looking into the future, because he actually is the one that actually brought up Texas and OU while discussing the 14 non-conference games. And then he said actually 16 when Texas and OU join us in 2025. From Mike, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't ESPN Extra turn into the Big 12 network for a few years before they went defunct? I don't know about that. I know ESPN Plus is very heavily involved in the Big 12.
There's never been a Big 12 network.
Yeah, never. That's one of the issues, that there wasn't one because of the Longhorn Network. And Oklahoma's got their regional network. It's given them some nice chunk of money as well. They've
got like the Big 12 now set up where they get exclusive rights to games, but that's mostly just streaming. And I say that like it's dismissive. I mean, streaming's obviously going to play a big role in the future of these broadcasts, and I would imagine for the Big 12 in particular, streaming's probably going to be your strongest bet versus even TV in some ways, just because of the size of your brands, But I don't know about any Big 12. I mean, they did the whole Big 12 Now thing and all that, but that was basically just ESPN Plus broadcast from best I could tell.
From JW, read some of your chat here to start this show. Jeremy Crabtree, on3.com, on3sports.com, will join us today at 3:30 on recruiting. And, of course, yesterday late in the day, that Ruben Owens story, the running back out of El Campo, committing to Louisville, which kind of shook up a few people. Rich Bozich will join us from WDRB TV in Louisville. We had him on during basketball season to talk about the Cardinals as well. From JW, the SEC will try to secure primetime games as much as they can across the board for each network, because they're greedy like that. Ray, CBS, and NBC are looking to stay and get involved more in college football. Is the Big 12 the favorite for those other options if ESPN does forget them a little bit?
Well, I have to think that, there's also WB or Warner Brothers Discovery as well. There's a lot of outlets. At some point you're going to say, like, even the bottom rung of another conference is not going to be better than the top of the Big 12. So, again, I'm not trying to, oh my gosh, the sky is falling. They're going to find a TV deal. They're all going to make millions of dollars. It's just a matter of where they are in the pecking order and in line. But I did look up Big 12 Network from 08 to 14. As part of, it's basically the predecessor to ESPN Plus, like we were saying. Yeah. It was technically a Big 12 network that lasted for all of, a few years, I guess 13 or so years maybe, but it was just a thing. Like, it wasn't an SEC network type of deal.
It wasn't a standalone channel.
No, it wasn't its own, standalone.
From Ray, Fox could go all in on the Big 12 while also having the Big 10, just like the SEC has ESPN and ACC right now. From Chris, maybe. You never know. And Chris, I think, is a Horns fan, and we appreciate this, Chris. Maybe Pitaro is setting a bargaining chip to offer the Big 12 for moving Texas and Oklahoma to the SEC sooner. But, Paul, you're saying, based on what you heard, it was basically, we want them as soon as we can get them, but we're not paying for their way to get
I don't think they want it. I think the thing he said was like the agreement we made, and that was it also translates to, well, the gambit we tried to run, Plan A blew up in our face when the Big 12 stayed together. So Plan A was to have the SEC and Texas and Oklahoma in probably 2023 or 2022 because the thing was going to fall apart. But darn those rascally other schools that they bonded together and are banded together and kept it together. So we had to, stick to that contract. So we didn't get out of anything. So, because, and no matter what, I know that sounds kind of like a conspiracy theory to some people, but there's no doubt in my mind the way that went down, that was plan A, was like, well, let's see what happens.
See if we can get away with it. Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe they'll break up, and there was that concern, no doubt, for just a handful of days, and then the Big 12 was able to react. In the end, everybody might be feeling pretty good about everything here in a couple of years. In fact, the new schools joining next summer. Chris, the ACC network invested millions in having a professional media studio at each one of the schools in the conference. Like the quality they have been putting out on game days, and that is impressive. And again, the ACC, their TV deal is like until the late 1930s or the 2030s.
Yeah, it's unfortunate for the ACC that they made that investment, and they're the definition of average as a conference goes.
I know, Craig, you have a comment. Someone keeps putting up, I've missed Fox Sports Southwest. I missed the name. It was easy for me to remember. It's Bally Sports.
I hate Bally's.
I don't like the name, but I had to get used to it. Remember, it was HSC, and then it was... But it's still the same network. They just have different...
It's absolutely not.
It's not?
No, it's owned by Sinclair. It's owned by a completely different company.
I'm saying it's the same... It's the
premise.
Same programming as far as what they're carrying.
Yeah.
But it's just owned by a different company. That's what I meant. It's still the same programming that you get. Maybe it's not quite as good.
But you may not get Bally on your cable service right now because of all that. And then some of these, like Bally has I can't remember who the other one was. Bally and another one have regional sports channels have come out with a monthly on-demand or, an app. And Bally wants to charge $30 a month. If you don't so say you don't get Bally Sports on your cable. They want to charge you $30 a month to watch it on your Amazon Fire Stick or smart device. $30 a month is like 4 different apps you can get. If you wanted to get HBO Max, Netflix, and Hulu, that's $30 a month. They're on certain plans. I don't know. I don't know what they're thinking that you're going to watch the Bally Sports Southwest that much. But
I actually see where Sinclair is offering a $20 package for 5 markets to begin with. I think you're thinking of the Nesson, Red Sox. It's $30 a month, which is screw off, man. If I was a Red Sox fan like you, maybe I'd think differently. But $30 just for Nesson to watch the Sox? Are you kidding me? That's not worth it. But yeah, Sinclair,
you get it cheaper on MLB.
Exactly. Yeah. Sinclair's doing a soft 5 market or so rollout that will be $20, and the markets are, I guess for baseball fans in particular, you'll get to see the Royals, the Tigers, the Marlins, the Brewers, and the Rays. Those markets. That's where they will, I guess, initially be available with this $20 per year streaming. But yeah, the Red Sox one, when I first saw that about a week or so ago, $30, I was like, oh, come on now. This is ridiculous.
That's how much I'm paying attention. I just know that my cable bill's getting too high.
Yeah.
And I'm not a grumpy old man when it comes to that. I am in some ways, but not because of that. But it's getting to the point where you want me to keep going up a little bit higher. I'm just going to have to figure it out. Jason Nichols, Bally Sports, does not work with Sling TV. Ben Mora, Bally can go to hell. JW, how about Mark Bezos graduated TCU? It would be nice to have the Big 12 advocate at Amazon who just got into football broadcasting games.
Who's Mark Bezos?
Yeah, you're thinking of Jeff.
Jeff Bezos, JW, I'm sorry. And then JW, A&M did the Big 12 a solid by letting that cat out of the bag when they found out, because, yes, there's a chance, had that been hidden a little bit longer, and that's the word to use, and who knows what would have happened. By the way, A&M up 5-0 on Notre Dame in the College World Series, bottom of the 6th.
I think if Brett Zorneman does not do what he does, let's say A&M and Texas are on better terms, I don't know that he breaks the story the way that he does. And that's not any slight to him in any way. It's just that, Aggie reporter's going to bust the Texas and OU to the SEC story. Damn right he is. I think if that happened, then Jimmy Pitaro's being quoted a lot differently in this article. And I think he's talking about what a coup it is to get OU and Texas starting right now in the SEC. And, I absolutely think they got busted red-handed. And, look, from a business perspective, I don't blame them one bit. It makes all the sense in the world. I don't blame OU and Texas. I don't have any, bitterness at all. I get it all. But there's no denying that they were trying to get away with murder in the middle of the night, and they got busted, and it was kind of fun to see them get busted.
Leaving a conference, if that's what you have to do, it happens all over. Not just the Big 12. It happens, teams have left other conferences and go, and that's because of all this. But I think the way that will always kind of sting is, it's clear the way they tried to do it was not, hey, listen, Big 12, we've got a couple years left, we're leaving. There's nothing you to stop us, we're leaving. As opposed to, Brent Zwerneman breaking the story and everyone in big trouble going, what the fuck?
Yeah. Less than a week after we had been in Arlington where everything seemed to be so good. Trey Roberts, ESPN won't say anything anyway, guys, because cover your ass against legal action.
Yeah, for sure.
And then also USA Network had part of the U.S. Open, as did Peacock, as did NBC. That's something that you see, and USA has carried a few, Steven said, Notre Dame games. Okay, when we come back, Jeremy Crabtree, on3sports.com, their senior editor, on many things with college football, but also with recruiting. And Ohio State got yet another elite high-level wide receiver, even since we mentioned it earlier in the week with Carnell Tate, another stud receiver out of Florida, as they're starting to add to their great class that they have every single year. This is Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. The city of Woodway, they are having a Taste of Southern Roots craft beer tasting and concert July 17th, and tickets right now are $15 a piece. And I'm going to tell you what it includes. You go to discoverwoodway.com for that information. Attached again, there's a flyer. You can contact discoverwoodway.com, 254-399-9204, or the website, discoverwoodway.com. They will also have live music, David Ramirez and Brett Welch, as well as beer tasting with Southern Roots Brewing Company with over 8 different craft beers to sample. You hear Paul talking about craft beers all the time when it comes to Riverbend Liquor and Wine on Lakeshore Drive, right around the corner from us. Well, craft beer tasting and a concert. July 7th. Tickets are $15 a piece. For more information, go to discoverwoodway.com.
Jeep Freedom Days are going on now at Allen Samuels in Waco. The new 2022 impressive Wagoneer Series 2 and 3 have 2.9% for 72 months, plus $4,000 competitive bonus cash. That's right, and $4,000 bonus cash. This incentive on the new 2022 Wagoneers for a limited time only at Allen Samuels in Waco. First responders get $500 extra cash. Come shop the huge new car and truck inventory today at Allen Samuels in Waco.
Come by, let's be friends.
Don Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don Humidor in the Townwest Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717, or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm, welcome home.
You know what would make this moment better? Pizza. Dough made from scratch and an Italian family sauce recipe pizza. 3 fresh signature cheeses making a melty blanket of perfection pizza. Like loads of premium toppings like crispy Old World pepperoni, savory Italian sausage, and fresh sliced veggies pizza. That's Marco's Pizza. Visit marcos.com and make any moment better. And with 4 locations in Waco, Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to open in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months, and it's a happy experience. It's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to the water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
This is Sikkim 365 Radio. Text us at 254-339-1122. The Sikkim 365 Radio text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
Jeremy Crabtree, senior editor on 3sports.com. I've known Jeremy for quite some time when it comes to not just what he does with recruiting, but many things in covering college athletics, college football as well. He joins us, Craig Smoak, Paul Catalina, and David Smoak. Jeremy, what was your reaction when you saw the Ruben Owens commitment?
A little surprising. I mean, to be honest, I thought that he would stay in state, but there had been a little bit of smoke that Texas had kind of stepped off the gas a little bit. I mean, obviously...
Okay, let's try to reboot that, Paul. Sorry about that. That's happened a couple of different times. We'll see if we can reboot Jeremy Crabtree on the Ruben Owens commitment to Louisville yesterday, and Paul's going to call him back. Louisville's had a couple of big time recruits now who have committed to them as they're making a run with what they're trying to do to get themselves back. And they have had some pretty good teams, Lamar Jackson among some others. Along the way, but obviously this is a nice little step up and more than a tick up with the latest commitment of Ruben Owens. Jeremy rejoins us again on 3sports.com. I'm sorry, Jeremy, we lost you. You were saying that maybe you saw Texas was maybe taking their foot off the gas a little bit, but they would have accepted his commitment, right? Okay, not there. Not there.
All right. Well, it is what it is. So we'll see if we can't get him back on. But part of the deal, amazing how far we've come technology-wise, and we still have these bad pockets for cell phones. But he's managed to find one. So that was surprising. I mean, I don't care what anybody says. I mean, maybe if you were super tapped into the Louisville message boards, you had some idea that Ruben Owens was going to be committing. But for somebody as myself or like myself who, reads what everybody else reads and has basically the same general information that everybody else does. I mean, that seemed to shock even the most well-informed, and it certainly shocked me to see that that's where he went. I saw they had a big weekend, big party atmosphere, it felt like out in Louisville, and, that obviously paid off for them.
All right, we got Jeremy back?
Yeah. Hopefully.
Yeah, sorry about that. It was like one of those days when you had an early cell phone. It was like you were underwater. All right, let's try this again. Ruben Owens committed to Louisville. Your overall reaction to that?
Yeah. I think I'll probably mimic what most of you guys are going to say is that there's a little bit of surprise there. Granted, we started to see Texas maybe move away a little bit from him. Last couple of weeks, they kind of tapped the brakes a little bit. They're all in on Cedric Baxter, a very highly coveted running back out of Florida. They do have to keep Trey Wisner committed. So I think that maybe if you're reading between the lines from a Texas standpoint, you could maybe see Louisville. But I thought A&M would continue to push there. But give credit to Louisville and their staff. They've done a great job of recruiting some high-profile kids this year. Surprise probably would be a little bit of an understatement at this point, though.
Scott Satterfield needs this, though, right, Jeremy? I mean, he's under the gun there at Louisville. They got a new AD. They haven't really been anything more than very kind of blah on the field. So he needs to pop some in recruiting, doesn't he?
He has, and I mean, they've got the number 9 class in the country so far, and a lot of the credit needs to also go to Pierce Clarkson, the quarterback, and for those that follow football recruiting, that last name sounds familiar because his dad, Steve Clarkson, is a quarterback guru who's tutored a number of the top Southern California quarterbacks, and Pierce is out there at St. John Bosco, one of the top high school football programs in the country. He committed in late January, and since then the Cards have been on a run. They got Aaron Williams, a 4-star cornerback from out there in California. They get DeAndre Moore, a former Oklahoma committed at Los Al, that's a 4-star receiver, and then they get the most coveted guy in the bunch, Reuben Owens. I do think a little bit, we don't know 1,000% sure, but it does sure seems like there's some smoke involved. The NIL is going to play a factor in many of these kids' decisions. And so, yeah, I give Scott Satterfield a lot of credit for playing the system for how it's set up right now.
Jeremy, a pretty banner, I guess, couple days for Ohio State, especially with their wide receiver recruiting. I mean, Brandon Ennis joins Carnell Tate as a duo of 5-star wideouts that have now pledged to the Buckeyes here as of late. Your thoughts on that? Obviously, they've got great pedigree, but impressive nonetheless.
Yeah, but Brian Hartline, the receiver coach up there in Columbus, is continuing to prove that he is maybe the best recruiter in the entire country right now. And it is a very attractive system. I mean, they put guys in the NFL, and that system is very attractive. You know, if you go to Ohio State, you're going to have the ball thrown your way, but you also know you're going to have a high-profile quarterback coming your way. So the last 2 years in a row, they've signed the number 1 quarterback in the country. They don't have a quarterback yet in this 2023 class, but they've got the next guy in 2024 already committed to Dilla Raiola from out in Chandler, Arizona, the number 1 quarterback in the 2024 class. So you know if you go into Ohio State, you're going to have a high-profile quarterback thrown your way. And, this Ohio State class, it's still early, and we still have to wait till some of these SEC schools make their run, but it's an awful special class, and landing 2 5-star receivers on back-to-back days is going to be something that folks talk about for a while.
And, they have been flirting with Austin Novosad, the young quarterback out of Dripping Springs, who's committed to Baylor, and that's kind of like Baylor's bell cow for their class of 2023. And you never know. He visited Waco this weekend, and he's still committed to Baylor, and hopefully the Bears think that they'll keep him. But that was kind of interesting that Ohio State reached out to him.
Yeah, no doubt. They're certainly kicking the tires. Let's just put it that way. And Baylor's doing everything possible to keep him on board. And I was a guy that I kind of saw this kid early on and was like, golly, I mean, he was a kind of a guy that was just outside the top 300 of most national lists, guy that once you see in person and film, you can see why the Bears went in early on him. And it's no surprise. I think he's more than good enough to play at a high level Big 12, but also high enough to go play, good talent enough to go play to a place like at Ohio State. So if you're Baylor, you're doing everything humanly possible. Coach Rand and staff are doing everything humanly possible to keep him on board.
Jeremy, the Baylor overall with what Dave Arand has done, and they're starting to pick up an uptick. Near the end of Art Browse's regime, they were starting to have higher-ranked classes because they were winning and getting more and more attention. And, in fact, the last one was a tremendous class that was blown up because he was fired. Do you start to see maybe a little bit with Dave Aranda's staff having more and more high profile, the 3 and 4 stars more than just mainly the 3 stars joining them?
Well, and the battle with them last year is that they had a lot of good class committed, and other schools started chipping away at some of those kids, and that's going to be the battle for them staying the course here in the future. Yes, that they do have a very good foundation right now in the top 25, actually number 24 in the On3 consensus team recruiting ranking. You have the quarterback, you have Christian Brathwaite from Cy Ranch down in Houston. That's an outstanding linebacker prospect. Corey Kelly, a great edge with an edge prospect down there at Clear Falls. So you're right. You are starting to see uptick in talent at guys looking at the Bears, and I love how they evaluate even the guys that are somewhat lower ranked. They seem to fit their style and scheme really well. And the Smokey, the battle's going to be to keep those guys committed when some of the other schools come knocking on the door and realize oh yeah, Baylor did a great job evaluating those guys, so got to keep them committed.
What coaches nationally do you feel like have to have a really good summer in closing to the knuckling through the season about losing some of their recruits?
Well, you mentioned the number one guy. I was going to mention that Satterfeld out there at Louisville, because there's just high expectations, especially when in state you see the job that Coach Stoops at Kentucky's done. I mean, you want to win and win big against your big in-state rival, but when you see Kentucky make a lot of success in the SEC, you want to be able to compete with them. So I noticed that also. But how about Tennessee? I mean, we know that Josh Heupel has had that program kind of on the right trajectory, but they are recruiting at a level that they've not seen in a long time. So many 5 stars, high-profile 4 stars already committed to them. But I think that they might have to continue to prove it on the field a little bit this season to ensure that some of those guys stay on board. And I hate saying this. This really bothers me to say this, but I think Dabo Swinney, the way that he is recruited kind of against the grain and taking things a little bit slower than some other folks and not throwing out tons of offers and saying, if you're committed to me, you're not taking any other official visits. That policy is something that kind of runs counter to what we see in college football now. I think they need to have a successful season to maybe keep some of the pieces that they have in place right now. They do have the number 6 class in the country. They've got a great quarterback, tremendous defensive core coming already. But if they struggle on the field again this season, it's going to certainly allow some of those SEC schools and other ACC schools to come knocking on the door of these kids.
Jeremy, I think we'd be remiss if we had a recruiting segment and didn't ask you about Arch Manning. And I guess you can go ahead and just reveal where he's going if you want to. But what is kind of just the latest with him, the scuttlebutt surrounding him? I know it's been Bama, Georgia, Texas, and I guess any given week you could say one has the momentum. But what are you kind of seeing from your point of view?
No, I do still think Texas has the momentum. I mean, they did a very good job of hosting him on his visit. He's done with all his main spring official visits now. So we could see a decision soon, or we could see a decision he could go ahead and wait and get it and wait until after the season and drag it out a little bit. So I do think it was telling that Alabama went after another quarterback. So you can maybe read between the lines a little bit and think that Alabama's a little bit out of this race. So to me, this is a Texas-Georgia battle, and Todd Monken and A.J. Milwee, the two recruiters that are going head-to-head for this. And let me be honest, Coach Sark is doing the heavy lifting job also for UT, but those two guys are battling hard for Texas. Right now, the On3 recruiting prediction machine does give Texas a 50.3% chance of landing him over Georgia, but I guys, I can make a real good case for both these two programs to land him. They check a lot of the boxes that he's looking for.
Where would he play earlier? Which of the two places would he play first?
And I think he's going to play both places right away. That's the kind of the thing. That's the thing. He believes he's good enough, and the pedigree is good enough, and the depth charts. Yes, both schools have recruited at high levels, but this is Arch Manning. This is the number one player in the country. This is the number one quarterback. This is a Manning. So I think he believes, and I think he can make a legitimate argument looking at both depth charts that he could play right away at either school. I do think maybe the path is just slightly better at Texas, especially if we see what happens with the situation this year and how it develops down there in Austin. Maybe that sorts itself out. But I don't know, guys. I think this is one of those battles that he's good enough. He could probably compete for playing time right away at either place.
Your national rankings changed this week with Ohio State. Craig mentioned Innocent Tate. Notre Dame has had a great run with Marcus Freeman. Is he proving that you can? And Notre Dame has always been able to recruit, but there's been some ups and downs. But is he proving to be a better overall recruiter than even Brian Kelly's regime?
Yes, I think the kids like him a lot. He's young. He's energetic. He retained a lot of his staff there, or a lot of Brian Kelly's staff, the guys that were tremendous recruiters. But I still think we need to wait and see what happens on the field this year a little bit before we anoint him as a surefire. This is going to work in South Bend type situation, because everybody gets excited about a new coach and all the pomp and circumstance that goes with that. But when it comes down to it, he's going to have to win on the field, and this season's going to be key for him to maybe keep some of these guys on board that are committed to him.
USC, Alabama, Georgia, on and on. The same teams you see, Penn State, A&M. Louisville's the one that jumped up. We've mentioned them. Tennessee,
yeah.
You mentioned them, and there's 3 to 5 others that will end up fighting for those top 10 as well. Lincoln Riley at USC as well. Your thoughts about A&M this year? Had the number 1 class by far last year, although Alabama was right there. Do you feel like they can follow that up again with possibly a number 1 class this year?
Oh boy, that's going to be tough, guys, because last year's class was so dang good. It was like one. I mean, you guys have been doing this, following this as long as I have, and I don't remember a crew that is as good as that we've ever seen there in this 2022 class at A&M. Can they compete for the number 1 spot again? Sure. Either they do have 5 guys already committed. I think a lot of it's going to be determined what happens here in these summer months. Can they get these kids on campus, get some momentum going, and then close strong? Because we all know that they do have a lot of positive things that they can sell, and if they have some success on the field, they'll close strong. But will we see a class like that again? Boy, I just don't know. That 22 class was just 1 in a million type group.
Jeremy, one more thing for me on the Big 12. You see Texas Tech, Kansas State, Cincinnati, who will be a part of the Big 12. They all are having a pretty good run. How much of theirs is quantity over quality right now, the numbers rather than the number of stars? Not a ton, to be honest. I mean, that's what's kind of, at least based on how we do our rankings, which are a little bit different than some of the other folks. Quantity doesn't really go into it a ton. We limit the ability for a class, say Texas Tech. I know Texas Tech and a lot of other folks, because they do have 20 commitments. They're really high ranked in some of the other folks, other services rankings. But there is some quality certainly in that Texas Tech class. But I think once you come down to it, you'll still see Oklahoma up there. You'll see Texas up there. I anticipate Oklahoma State once they make their run. And keep it. You mentioned K-State. Keep an eye on them. I think they're getting ready to make a run here. I live here in Kansas City, and we've not seen a year like we're seeing in this 23 class in Kansas ever. I mean, there's 12 to 15 high-profile Big 12 level kids, and K-State's about to land 6 of them, including Avery Johnson, the 4-star quarterback from down in the Wichita area. So if they wheel him in there, I think K-State could be one of these classes that really surprises a whole lot of folks also. Jeremy, thank you, man. Appreciate your time. Keep up the great work. I knew you back when you were 5 years old, I think. I feel like it. You've done so well. Jeremy Crabtree, senior editor on 3 Sports. Again, they do a great job. I mentioned the top 10, and there's a lot. Like Texas Tech has 20 commitments, and there's some that are behind them. And I didn't mean that as any way of trying to say that Baylor's always been that way. Baylor, again, there's certain schools that are going to cream rises to the top with the kind of players they get. But there's no doubt Tech is having a great run with Joey McGuire. Baylor's having a nice run with Aranda. And as I mentioned, Kansas State and what they're doing with Chris Kleiman, and Cincinnati with Luke Fickell. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Did somebody at Texas Tech get upset? No,
okay.
No.
Yeah, because it's not a criticism. It's just that there's no doubt they benefited in certain rankings by the fact that they've had 20 commits, and other teams around them have had 12 or 11. And on certain sites, I'd say like 247. The more you have, the higher ranked you are. Doesn't matter who they are. If you just have more guys, you're going to be ranked higher. If you go to, let's say, an On3, they do it a little bit differently to where it's not so much like he said, if you got 20, you're going to be higher than the team with 14 no matter what. I think they do it more where it's geared towards your higher ranked guys. So you could have smaller class but more, let's say, 4 stars, then you're going to be ranked higher than the class who just has a bunch more guys. Does that make sense? So they do it differently. I don't know what Rivals does. I haven't
honestly checked in on them in a while, but I'm sure they have their own way as well. That's a little bit different, but I just know those two in particular is kind of the gist that I've gotten from how they do it. So yeah, I mean, it's all, you can read it however you want to read it, like people can read it and take it positively or read it and take it negatively or whatever. But I think just being mentioned and being up there near the top there for a while for Tech was a really good boost. But for example, if you look at, let's say the 2023 rankings for them, okay, they're number 5 on 247, right? They're behind Notre Dame, Ohio State, Penn State, and Georgia, who all have at least 5 less commits than they do. But they still rank a high. So there's Tech at 5 in the 247. Let's go to on 3. They're 16.
Yep.
So again, eye of the beholder, however you want to look into it. But there's obviously a massive difference in kind of how they're viewed, and yet there's Ohio State's 1 in one of them, and they're 2 in the other. So it just kind of depends what you want to look at.
Michael Davis on the chat room, great point. Texas Tech will surely finish lower than they are now, probably top 30, I think. But that's a massive improvement for them than where they have been recently and in the past, and that is the key.
They don't need to finish number 1. Yeah, I mean, for them to finish top 25 would be a hell of a freaking class and would be a big deal. I mean, yeah, that would be a massive deal. So absolutely agree with you. It doesn't have to be top 5 or top 10. That's what you'd eventually like it to be. But kind of like with Baylor and Aranda, was like if you get a top 30 class there just to start off with, and then you move up and you're a top 25 class, and then, you hope to get into a top 20 class. It's all about the progress. But, yeah, if they can land a top 25 to 30 for McGuire in full year 1, that would be incredible. But I think one thing that Jeremy did mention, and this is, something I said on the podcast earlier, I'm so damn ready for the season to get here because I'm loving all the positivity and excitement, but I'm ready to cut through the BS. There's a lot of teams right now that are riding these coaching changes and recruiting rankings and all this stuff that are going to roll out teams that aren't nearly as good as they're supposed to be, and there's going to be teams that go over their expectations, and I'm just going to be fascinated because that will have a major impact on recruiting.
One note, college note, former Baylor receiver Leonard Sampson is now the new wide receivers coach and passing game coordinator at Austin Peay. He has been at Syracuse with Dino Babers. He's been at UCF, Missouri State, McNeese State. He was kind of one of those gems that was kind of under the radar at times. I think his big game, and I might not have the right one, but the 2011 game against TCU, when they blitzkrieged TCU after they had gotten hammered by TCU the year before. All right. Wrapping up this first hour, Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports.
Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac. I just got my car back from Richard Carr the other day, and it was better than when I took it in, that's for sure. Well, that's their job. That's what it's supposed to happen. But it was even better than when I remember it being 100% the last time. They took care of me. They took care of my car, and everything looks great. I'm so glad to be back in it, and I can't thank the people over at Richard Carr, particularly Donnie, enough for what they did for me as far as getting me in, getting me scheduled, and then, of course, getting the job done as well. So right now, if you're in the market for a new vehicle or a pre-owned vehicle, Richard Carr is they are the people that you can count on. If you're looking for a new vehicle, well, get your name on that inbound vehicle list. Contact the dealership by phone, by email, by going by the dealership. Tell them that you want this model that's coming, that's on its way. You want this truck, this SUV, this car. Get all the details squared away, and then once it eventually arrives, you will be basically in line, first come, first serve to get that vehicle. So it's a placeholder, basically, for those brand new cars that are arriving weekly. But if you're looking to buy used, they can get you into something even quicker. Right now, they've got great summer savings like 2018 GMC Sierra SLT, only $432 a month. They've got 2017 Buick Encore, $183 a month. 2018 GMC Acadia, only $280 a month, and all of their vehicles go through a 172-point inspection. They pay top dollar for your trade. 100% credit approval is always the goal, so find your next car or truck today at Richard Carr. They are the people that you can count on in business for over 25 years. Check them out at Highway 6 Imperial Exit.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
It's plain and simple. Waco Custom Marketplace is the one-stop shop for what you need for tailgating, from charcoal, cold beer, and wine. And, of course, customize your order with brisket, tri-tip, sausage, wings, smoked pork tenderloin, country-style or pork spare ribs, marinated beef and chicken fajita meat, ground beef and chili, meat, hot dogs, and burgers, buns, seasoning, sauces, chips. There's fresh baked bread and kolaches every day, breakfast sausage links. And you can also customize your favorite cut of steaks from Select, Choice, or Prime, bacon wrap fillets, ribeyes, New York strip, sirloin, T-bone, and porterhouse. Full service butcher shop includes pork, poultry, beef, chicken, and seafood, serving Waco restaurants and families since 1940. Your one-stop shop for beef, pork, poultry, and seafood needs. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive, North 19th Street, right behind the bank, is a hidden gem in Waco. If you're a fan of bourbon, especially local Texas bourbons, that's where you gotta go. Balcones, TX, Devil's River, whatever it is, they've got it. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, plus the best selection of craft beers in Waco, seasonally churned out throughout the year, whether it's spring, summer, fall, or winter. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, best selection of craft beers, a speedy drive-through window, and excellent customer service. Find out more on Instagram or just go by and see them. Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street behind the bank.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel and Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel and Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel and Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneersboys.com.
Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Are you a Sikkim 365 superfan? Then try out our premium subscriptions at Sikkim365.com.
Couple of things. Live Golf added their biggest piece. Not Mickelson, not Dustin Johnson, or anyone else. Brooks Koepka is now joining. That will be announced. It has been announced, a four-time major champion who dominated golf in 2018, 19, and part of 20. Paul Catalina, that's one of your boys from FSU.
Yeah, I'm kind of bummed about it. I was kind of, I'm Team PGA. And again, I'm not judging him, but I mean, I am. I guess I kind of am. It's blood money. We all know it's blood money. It's a lot of money. I mean, nobody's ever offered me blood money, so I can't say what I would do. I'm not trying to be morally equivocate this, but I just think it sucks that all these guys are doing this. And I wish there was some way that I wish the PGA had maybe reacted to it a little bit smarter than they have to stave it off the past. But again, they're fighting a country that has near unlimited resources. So
Yeah, I mean, I think he's a sellout. 100%. And I'm not saying that like, oh, I wouldn't do the same thing, because if I was offered $100 million, I'd take it from just about anybody. And guess what, though? I'm not making already $50 million a year or whatever the hell he's making. He's making tens of millions of dollars already. And so I guess, another $100 million to that is worth it for him. But me, as somebody who just, hey, I just want to pay rent every month. Yeah, I'll take that deal. But he's already easily paying rent. So when we talk about like, well, you take the money too, like, yeah, but what's the situation exactly? Like, are you somebody who's renting, or are you somebody who already has a 10-bedroom house that you own? Because I think you're way more of a sellout if you already got the 10-bedroom house, but you got to take the money. It's not the same as somebody who's struggling.
Dirty money's dirty money, but I see where you're coming from.
Yeah, like if he was somebody struggling to make a living, and you're like, yeah, take the blood money. But, he's not in any way, shape, or form. Well, I know Phil's is a little bit more unique because maybe he is to an extent. But anyways, I know that's not a perfect comparison. I'm just saying I do think it's different when it's something that you kind of, for your health, for your future, for your family, you feel like you have to do. And then it's something that it just seems like these guys don't need the money, even though the money's a big part of it, as much as they just want to stick it to the PGA. Because that's what it seems more like to me. Well, but I'm an outsider, so,
Yeah, they also had Abraham Answer from Mexico, PGA Tour, introducing a revamped schedule that will increase purses of about $20 million in at least 8 different tournaments. Existing marquee tournaments like the Players' Championship, Memorial, Bay Hill with Arnold Palmer's name attached to it, among others, and try to come up with even maybe 3 or so tournaments that will have no cuts, not shotgun start. I think if you told me everything else about LIV, I could see the enticement. But the shotgun starts, which means everyone plays faster, that get all the shots. That to me still seems like what I do on a Monday afternoon at a fundraiser. And I'm not saying that's not why you should play there. That's the only thing to me that cheapens it as far as the format of what they're doing. So the PGA they're at a tournament this week, and the Travelers in Connecticut. The commissioner talked to the players there, and they have made and put up some changes, at least for right now.
Yeah, and I'm not like big into the team PGA versus team LIV. Like if I had to pick, I'd pick the PGA because it's more American. It's not run by the Saudi Arabians. But there's very much sports washing, whitewashing, whatever you want to call it, going on. There's no doubt about that. And Brooks Koepka's now contributing to that as well for money, for blood money. And, even still, I say, well, hey, we're, in America, we're not completely innocent either. We've got our fair share of blood money and things that we aren't proud of and all of that. But, I mean, these guys are directly contributing to whitewashing this very controversial country, so to speak. But my biggest problem with it is, who was the guy just like 3 days ago? I'm tired of talking. Why do you have to ask me all these questions about LIV? And why are you asking me? Was that not Brooks Koepka?
It was last Wednesday.
Yeah, it was last Wednesday. And so now that whole you're casting a black cloud over the U.S. Open seems to me to have a different meaning why he was annoyed.
He was annoyed because he couldn't really answer the questions, because if he did, he would probably have to find himself caught up in a lie. He has an edge to him. Poulter has an edge to him. Patrick Reed, DeChambeau. You look at some of the guys who are joining LIV. Some of them have had great careers. Some of them have won majors. They have 8 of the top 50 golfers now. So that's check, then checkmate, then check. We'll see how it goes along the way. From Chris, again, that LIV can outbid for anyone, so they need to figure out how to coexist with them. And from MH5, Paul, I will help you handle the blood money. I'd be washing for you and make it smell nice and take 10%. All right, sure. we do need to take, from Juan, pretty sure the blood money comes with private, thinly veiled threats like The Godfather.
And maybe not so privately veiled over there, yeah.
So when we come back, his name is Kyle King. You may have never heard of him. Well, that's your fault. You're about to hear from him. He's a quarterback at UMHB, who is the only Division III quarterback invited to the Manning passing camp coming up at the end of the month. He'll join us next on how that went about. Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress sent me a nice text on Sunday. Good friend of mine, but a great dentist as well. And he has helped me understand how I can play catch up from not paying attention enough to my dental work for too many years. A lot of times when you don't go get your regular cleaning, when you don't take care of an issue with a tooth that's hurting or something with your gums, if you don't, and then you're worried because then you go and they're going to do something, it just multiplies, and that's what's happened to me. But I'm starting to get control of it again. 2 implants, and I'll have 2 crowns put in by sometime early in the fall. Also with a couple of other things that I'm dealing with to make sure that I am taking care, not just by brushing my teeth and flossing, but other things that Dr. Childress has helped me. That's the kind of guy he is. That's the kind of dentist he is. His staff is amazing. They're amazing. Stonewood Dental in Robinson, Texas.
Payments for qualified buyers are 2.9% for 72 with 5,000 down cash or trade. TTL Extra. See deal for details. Step up your ride at Richard Carr's Summer Savings Event. Find summer savings like a 2018 GMC Sierra SLT, only $432 a month, or a 2017 Buick Encore for $183 a month, or GMC Acadia for only $280 a month. Our vehicles go through a 172-point inspection. We pay top dollar for your trade, and 100% approval is always our goal. Find your next car or truck today at Richard Carr.
At Richard Carr, we give you more.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs, even offering financing if that's needed. Everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
It was broad daylight. I stepped into a gas station for 5 minutes to grab a snack, and just like that, my car was broken into. They made out like a bandit. My laptop, my phone, everything. I called my agent to see what could be done, and he restored my faith in humanity. My claim was processed so quickly, and I was able to recover my losses.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Automatic Chef Canteen is a full-service micro-market vending and office coffee provider with state-of-the-art vending equipment, a wide variety of products, and offering custom-fitted micro-market vending office coffee solutions for your employee break room. You want a full break room solution and a workplace oasis? Well, Automatic Chef Canteen, locally owned and operated for over 50 years in Central Texas, also includes in-house mechanics on call 24/7 for fast, reliable service and maintenance. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchefcanteen.com.
Did you know that Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness is a partner of the city of Waco? Did you know that we are open to the public? Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness offers day passes to the public for only $10 a day, and we offer money-saving memberships. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness offers over 40 group exercise classes each week, including bar, yoga, boot camp, indoor cycling, and more. There are free weights, weight machines, TRX, rowing machines, stationary bikes, new treadmills, elliptical machines, and much more on the spacious weight room floor. Personal training available where you can be encouraged to grow. Sauna, whirlpool, tanning bed, and kids club. 17 tennis courts, 8 pickleball courts, youth and adult tennis and pickleball lessons. Waco's premier experience where you can help your mind, body, and soul. Visit our website at wacotennis.com. Call us at 254-753-7675 or visit us next to Hawaiian Falls on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Offset with Smith in the backfield on 2nd and goal. And instead, they come around with the tight end. Ben Sims takes it in.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Now, here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
Saw this note come down my timeline earlier today, the Manning Passing Challenge. This at Thibodaux, Louisiana, Nicholls State. Started looking at names, some that were familiar, schools that are a part of it. Cameron Rising, Utah, C.J. Stroud, Clayton Tune at Houston, Alabama's Bryce Young, the Heisman Trophy winner, Stetson Bennett, star at Georgia, and hero. All sorts of names that are on the list. Lane Hatcher from Texas State. Baylor will play them again this year. Max Johnson at A&M. And then K.J. Jefferson, Arkansas, as some of them. And then Kyle King, Mary Hardin Baylor in Belton, a powerhouse in Division III. He's on this list, and Kyle joins us. David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak on Sikkim 365 Radio. Kyle, congratulations on being a part of this. Can you kind of go over the background of how this came about and how you ended up going to this passing academy?
Yes, sir. So we played the Natty on December 17th and had a great game, kind of better than probably the best game I had of the year. And then about 2 weeks later, I received an email from Archie talking about, I'm in the running to make the cut or whatever. And then, kind of didn't think much of it. Just, thought it was a cool honor to even get that opportunity. And then got a call, I guess it had been about 2 weeks later, to let me know that I had actually made the cut and will be a part of the camp. And, ever since then, it's been pretty surreal.
So what will you be? I know that they have counselors and all that. So what will you be doing at the camp?
To my knowledge, I mean, they sent the information out the other day. There's 1,350 campers. There's 135 coaches and 45 college quarterbacks. And I think the quarterbacks are responsible for just drills and stuff. So it's almost like we're another coach, but we also, the cool thing about it, we get workouts as well. So since I've never really been there and done this before as a coach, I would assume it'd be morning workouts with Peyton and Eli maybe. I don't know exactly, but I know Thursday at 3 o'clock we get a throw-in session.
When you got that communication from Archie, you think that somebody was trolling you for a second?
Yeah, I really did. I was like, man, this can't be real, coming from a little town like I do, people don't just get this opportunity every day.
So you thought it might, you went back and then he texted you. You told me this earlier today. He texted you, then you guys end up talking. Man, you're the only Division III quarterback on this list. And Kyle, I'll be brutally honest here. When I started going over the list, I was saying, okay, who from Texas is on this list, or schools, or maybe former players from this area? And when I saw your name, it just jumped out at me. I was happy for you, but very, very surprised. This is kind of elite territory. This is a great deal for not only you, but the program as well, don't you think?
Oh, no doubt. Not even really for the whole division, just D3 in general. It's just a great thing for everybody, and I'm glad that Archie Manning was so nice to give an invite to Division III player, and just hats off to him for even noticing. And I'm very thankful for it. And as far as for what it does for UMHB, yes, getting UMHB a little more exposure. Like you said, we've won a lot of football games in the past couple years. We do very well, but just being Division III, we don't always get the exposure I don't think that we deserve. So this is a great opportunity.
You're from Milano. You're from a family of athletes. You mentioned your mom scored 55 points in a basketball game. Your dad and also your older brother played college basketball as well, and your younger brother, Ben, was a hell of a player with you at Milano. You came out of high school, and how many offers did you have?
3 legitimate offers. I had Sagu, Howard Payne, and Hardin Simmons. And I thought I was going to get Midwestern State, and I think their OC had just gotten fired, and we were on a pretty good page, and he just got fired right before I graduated high school. Or not fired, but took another job at Arizona, actually. So that kind of hurt. But, yeah, those were the only 3 I had out of high school.
You had 3. And UMHB, you were at initially, was it Howard Payne where you were there first?
I was at Howard Payne for a year, yes, sir.
So
my freshman year.
How did you get to UMHB, and how did that story go down?
Well, I'm from about 40 minutes from UMHB, and I did have a visit to UMHB, and everything was good. They didn't want me to play quarterback. UMHB didn't want me to play quarterback, and I was young and dumb, and I was dead set on playing quarterback. So I went to Howard Payne. It was. I was happy I met one of my best friends from there. Had a good time. Didn't get a whole lot of playing time. Was the third string quarterback my freshman year. But about the third game of the year, we're looking for a punter, and they let me punt one. I told them I could punt, and ended up making all conference that year with averaging like 44.3 yards a punt that year. So, you know, I'm happy for my freshman year. I got to play more than most freshmen do, so I can't complain too much.
So
wait, you were young and dumb then, so you're old and smart now.
I'm wise.
There you go.
Yeah. You sure are. You accepted the invitation, man. That's right there. You're getting better already. 2020 was a bizarre year because of COVID. You guys ended up only playing like 5 games, and you basically were the backup. How did you get on the radar? How did you all of a sudden like blossom at UMHB?
I'm probably one of the only people in the world that can say this. COVID helped me out. Without COVID, I never would have started a football game at UMHB. Because going into that, so the fall before, the 2019 fall, I was actually the backup on JV. And, you know, by the end of the year, actually, I started out as a third string on JV coming in that year. I just transferred in. It's my first year there, first semester. Ended up starting on JV the last couple games. Okay, so then we go to the next fall semester that ended up getting canceled because of COVID. Well, I worked my way up to the varsity team, and we have exit meetings. And Stephen Lee was my offensive coordinator. Great guy. We're pretty close. He's now at Abilene Christian. But he told me, he's like, you know, I could see you being the number 2 quarterback on the roster if you work hard. You know, I said, yes, sir. My best friend, Tommy Bowden, was the number 1. So we get to the spring semester, and Tommy's the quarterback, you know, and we're 3-0. You know, we just had some struggles offensively, so we just decided to make a change the 4th game, and I got to start versus Louisiana College was my first start. And, you know, we played very well. I think like I said earlier, we either put 67 or 72 up, and I could be wrong on those numbers, but it was a lot of points. And then the next week, we traveled to Hardin-Simmons for the ASC championship, which is our big rival. They're usually a top 5 team. And we won that game 24-12. And ever since then, you know, coming into the next year, I was the guy for the moment, you know, and that's kind of how that happened. So COVID really saved my college career.
That's an interesting way to put it. It's probably one of the few people, you are one of the few people that benefited from it. What was it like not to play when you transferred from Howard Payne to UMHB for someone like yourself who's been successful?
It was hard. So both my parents are coaches. So, you know, I've always been I've always been taught team first. So, you know, I wouldn't say I ever got selfish, but it was just hard because I'm a competitor and I wanted to play on the big stage, you know, because everybody would ask me back home, you know, when do you play? And JV at UMHB plays on Mondays. So I'd have to tell them Monday, you know, just little things like that were just a little punch to the pride. But, you know, that was probably the most challenging part. But like I said, I learned a lot on JV, and I'm very fortunate for having a JV just because you still get to play some football games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Does being a coach's kid, though, like give you, at least you know how it works?
Yeah. I mean, when I came to UMHB, they had just won a national championship in 2018. So I knew I wasn't just going to come in and be handed anything. And I called Coach Fred one day and I said, Coach, you know, he kind of knew me through the recruiting process. We weren't great. We weren't real close, but my family was really close with the head boys basketball coach at that time. His name was Ken DeWeese. So I asked him to give me Coach Fred's number, and he did. And I called him one day and was like, Coach Fred, this is Kyle King. I punt at Howard Payne from Milano, Texas. And I was just wondering if I were to transfer, you know, would I have an opportunity, or could I have a roster spot and have an opportunity? And, you know, he said, sure, we'll have you, but you're going to have to earn everything you have and nothing will be given. And he couldn't have said any more words that were true than that.
So he's retired, and now you guys have a new era, and obviously in the capable hands of somebody who's been very much a part of the success. What's that been like, the transition?
Yeah, so it's been, you know, it's pretty smooth because Coach Harmon has been the defensive coordinator for so long, I believe over 20 years. And Coach Harmon is a very competitive guy, and a lot of his coaching, you know, stuff he learned coaching-wise came straight from Coach Fred. So Coach Fred's still around from time to time, you know, just around the facility. So it's still nice to see his face and stuff. But as far as, you know, how we do things and how the spring went, they're very similar to how they always have been done.
And now this is the part that I couldn't wait to get to. So here is a guy going to the Manning Passing Challenge. He leaves. You leave what, Wednesday, or do you leave? What time do you leave? Will you leave tomorrow?
Leaving Wednesday, yes, sir. And I won't have to be there till Thursday, but my dad and me wanted to get down there a little early just to make sure we got everything settled.
Yeah, well, it's going to be – I can't wait for you. I hope we get to check in with you maybe after it's all over as well. So it's 100 degrees outside almost every day, right? It's 100 degrees. It's miserable. Heat beating down on us like it's just a big, huge ray of nothing, of just battering our heads.
It's tough. It's hot.
What do you do during the day now?
My summer job is I haul square bills. So that's what I do to make a little summer money to try to help me out the next semester. So that's kind of what I do. Yes, sir.
So is there a square bill company we get you an NIL deal with?
I wish there was, but there really ain't. It's pretty boring. There's not a whole lot of glamour in it.
I think anyone who's lived here long enough, we understand the heat, but there's some days that seem to even be more of a battering ram than others. But you get used to it. Do you get used to it even doing that, hauling hay?
I honestly, it sucks. Like, don't get me wrong, but I enjoy it because it does get me ready for football.
Oh yeah.
Come fall camp, I'm happy. I'm like, it's hot, but I'd rather play football in the heat than haul hay in the heat. So that's kind of it's kind of a middle edge for me. I really think in a certain type of way, because that's kind of who I am as a player. I try to be tough. So that I try to take that into all aspects of things that I do.
So Kyle, as somebody who initially, as you mentioned earlier, there were thoughts that you weren't even going to be a quarterback. Right. UMHB goes and wins a national championship. You got the Manning Passing Academy invite. I mean, you've proven a lot to, I'm sure, a lot of people, but also to yourself. Just what is this last, year or so, or even less than that now at this point? What has this been like for you?
Man, it was kind of weird. I was driving the tractor the other day, spraying some stuff, and it's just quiet in there, and it's just time to myself. And I was just thinking back, and it kind of hit me. It was weird because after we won the national championship, it was almost like a relief. You know what I mean? Like I didn't truly enjoy it, like I probably should have. That's one of the things I wish I could go back and enjoy it. But I was sitting on that tractor, and all the memories of the year popped up. It's just where I started and came from, and being from Milano. It's just it was so real, and it was just amazing that to myself, because there were a lot of times in my career where I doubted, will I even play quarterback again, like you said. And having the success that I had this year was just, man, it was great because it came from a lot of hard work. And one of the people I have to thank the most is my dad. He always believed in me. It's funny, my dad told me when I was on JV, he's like, well, you're going to win a national championship here and you're going to be the starting quarterback. I used to laugh, be like, whatever, Dad, but it happened. And that's the first thing he said to me after the game. He was like, what'd I tell you? And I was like, I mean, you're right. And he probably believed in me more than I believed in myself a lot of times.
You have a contagious personality, it seems to me, which I would think that as a quarterback, that is just perfect. It's not by any means anything where you're full of yourself. You're confident, but you have a contagious personality. Have others told you that?
I would say as our whole program is kind of like that. Every guy on that team, we're like brothers, and man, where we all talk and communicate. And, I think that's rare because I was on another team and we didn't talk a whole lot. We go to practice and go home and kind of go our separate ways. But here it's, we got group chats and it's just, I don't know. It's just like a whole big family. But as far as me having that, yeah, I would say so. And I'd say coming from a small town probably helps that. Me and my little brother have been on the fire department in our small town since we were like juniors in high school. So we've always been around people and just been put in kind of the spotlight type deal. And it's just, I think that's really helped to really mold me today to who I am.
So, Kyle, I have to ask you, it's obviously going to be a star-studded event. A lot of big-time quarterbacks are going to be there from different levels. And I know sometimes guys will be hesitant, like, I don't care. I'm confident. I don't really care so much about meeting other guys and things like that. But is there somebody that you'd be, C.J. Stroud, for example, or right, somebody else that is going to be around that you at least like to chat it up with, pick their brain, maybe work out a little bit?
Oh, man, they're all of them. They're at a place a lot like CJ and Bryce. I mean, I'm not saying that I'll be starstruck, but they're great players, and they're somebody I look up to because I watch them play on the big stages. So I'm definitely not too proud to admit that I'm looking forward to meet some of them guys and talk to them guys for sure.
Kyle, for those on the chat room that might be out of our state, tell people what they can expect to find if they found themselves in Milano, Texas.
Milano, Texas, we have okay, I take that back. We have two establishments now. We have a Sefco and a Dollar General. And that is the only stores you can buy anything from. It's population 400, and there's two stoplights. And once you pass, in between the two stoplights is Milano. Once you get outside either one of them, you're out of town. I live basically downtown, and I live a quarter mile down a dirt road. And I'm pretty much right downtown. It's very tall. I mean, very tiny. Two-way school. I graduated with 30 kids.
Yep.
36, I think, to be exact.
Well, what a great story, man. I'm telling you, we had somebody on the chat room, and yes, Mount Union and Mary Hardin Baylor have played before, and Mary Hardin Baylor has started to have the best of everybody. Did you ever suit up against Mount Union?
I never have played against Mount Union. I played against, in 19, when I was on JV, Whitewater beat us that year in the quarterfinals, I think it was. It wasn't even the semifinals, which was odd for us to not go very deep. And then last year, I played against Whitewater, but I've never played against Mount Union.
Yeah, they ran it for a long time, but so have you, and so has Mary Hardin Baylor. Whitewater, of course, a part of that as well. Kyle, it's great. I'm so glad I looked at that list. I'm so glad I looked at all of it and got a chance to get to know you, and we appreciate your time. Good luck. Stay in touch and enjoy it, and soak all of that in. I know you will.
Oh, I'm looking forward to it. Yes, sir. I really am.
Thank you very much. That's Kyle King, quarterback at Mary Hardin Baylor from Milano, Texas. Small town. UCF's John Plumlee is in it. Spencer Rattler in it. I mentioned some of the others. Texas Tech, Tyler.
John Rice Plumlee.
John Wright, that's right. John Plumlee. Tyler Shuck. I don't know how I can not get that right. Tyler Shuck at Texas Tech. I met Van Dyke at Miami. Now, there's many others that are a part of it. Sean Clifford, Penn State. Miles Brennan, LSU.
Clayton Toon, U of H.
Yeah, I mentioned him earlier. So there's some great names. Hunter Helms of Clemson.
I like that he just says, like, yeah, I'm looking forward to meeting him, because more or less my line of thinking was, like, when we've been at the draft and stuff before, you interview guys and they're like afraid to tell you who their childhood team was. You know what I mean? Like, who'd you grow up rooting for? And they won't tell you. Like 9 times out of 10, right? Like they're just like, it's like somehow the team's gonna get mad they grew up a Cowboys fan and is not gonna draft them suddenly. It's a weird deal.
Yes. I really didn't have a team.
I didn't have a team. Like what?
I like football as a concept, as art.
I was just more of an NFL guy. It's like, come on, and just say you were a Ravens fan. Like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, because you know it's BS, because when somebody actually gets drafted by the team that they lose their mind.
Yeah. So I don't know what weird advice like agents give these guys, because it's a common thing that happens with the draft every year where they're afraid to say the team they grew up rooting for, which I just think is ridiculous. But that's kind of where I was coming from with that is, there is that pride thing of like, I think I'm the best in the room and I see eye to eye with Bryce Young and blah, blah, blah. But, I mean, obviously that young man's built different. I wish there were more guys built like him, because he seems like a real gem. I mean, he does. And obviously has worked really hard for the success that he's had, and I'm sure he's going to have a fantastic time out at the Manning camp.
Shepherd University has a player. Tyson Bagent is also a part of this as well.
Should I be distressed that Jordan Travis from Florida State isn't on that list?
Well, there's a lot of schools that don't have him. You don't see Shapen on here either from Baylor. But it's just, you can't have everybody. There's 50 players that are 45 or 50 different quarterbacks. Great to hear from him. Great to know. And now his background of Kyle King and the fact he's at the Manning passing challenge coming up this week on Thursday, starts at Nicholls State in Thibodaux, Louisiana. This is Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Don Humidor and Coffee Beans in the Town West Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco. I was there last week, picked up a couple of different cigars, same brand, La Fontana, Churchill Length, and then also one that's the torpedo end, which I like it. It's a very smooth smoke as well. But then they have Ashton and Macanudo and Romeo and Julieta and Arturo Fuente and Rocky Patel and CAO and Cohiba, and you keep going. They have it. 48-foot walk-in humidor loaded up with the best cigars, among some sneaky ones that are starting to make a little bit of a hit because they're getting their name out. La Fontana, I remember when I first smoked the La Fontana, I was like, man, this is really good. And Carol, Ashley, and Cheyenne can help you out. CBD products to help you fall asleep easier and more peacefully at night and get up with a fall. I mean, you just feel better because you didn't toss and turn. You got an extra 30 to 45 minutes to an hour of sleep. And on top of that, they also have much more if you want when it comes to CBD products. Don Humidor and Coffee Beans in the Town West Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby is a homegrown, family-owned and operated must-visit pizza place in Waco. Fantastic pizza by the slice or get the whole pie to share. Great happy hour specials every single day, and it's not just pizza. Great wings. You have to try the Sikkim sauce, chili cheese fries, pizza pillows, and more. Dine in for a great hangout or carry-out. Order online at shortyspizzashack.com or do yourself a favor and bring your crew to the restaurant at 12th and Bagby. Shorty's Pizza Shack. Tell them Paul sent you by.
Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Brad Boozer, Boozer's Jeweler, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive. It's a staple of the Waco economy. What are some of the things you have coming up?
You know, we kind of call ourselves the wedding ring store. We do all of our own custom work in-house. I've got 2 expert jewelers on staff every day. We can make anything from scratch. We kind of pride ourselves. Probably 9 out of 10, every engagement ring we do is actually made custom to what the customer wants.
People look at that, oh my God, I can't afford it. I can't afford something like that. You've shown me examples that you could fit pretty much any budget.
It doesn't cost any more to custom make something. You still have gold, you still have diamonds, and you still have labor. Best thing about a custom piece is if you have any old jewelry or heirloom jewelry or something passed down from a grandma or somebody, we can take that jewelry and use it towards your wedding ring for the sentimental value, and then you've got the product, and then it's just a little bit of labor and a little bit of design on your part of what you actually want.
You want to know why they're successful? Brad Boozer, the owner of Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air in Waco.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Have you subscribed to our YouTube channel? Search 365 Sports on YouTube.
There's a couple of other stories from today. Craig, are you bringing this up and off the radar? No. Yesterday we told you about the young man, the star from Houston Baptist University basketball team who was shot and killed at what was kind of a barbecue type setup in Harlem. Caleb Swanigan, Purdue men's basketball star, now has been in the NBA, first round pick, died at 25. Greg Doyle, who is to me one of the best writers in America. Indianapolis Stars, I think, is who Greg writes for, and we've had him on. And at times there's some things where he can look at things like a very quirky way, but he's a brilliant writer. He wrote something, normally it's behind a paywall, but I was able to read part of it. And Caleb Swanigan came from basically nothing. He always fought, really, really had to fight his weight. His dad may have died, the story says, when he was like 500 pounds. And so it kind of was something that he just battled all of the time. And then he kind of hit the swan song and started struggling after he was released from the NBA, got arrested for marijuana, and he died. He was 25 years old. part of the Trailblazers, Sacramento Kings. But Greg Doyle was talking about his background. He escaped what would be a statistic, and yet still could just never get away. His weight was an issue, and he died, they say natural causes as far as the report right now, at the age of 25. All-American, Big Ten Player of the Year, hell of a player, but he's gone in a very sad story. Garrett, the graphic for University of Houston. Every year we have our academic all-stars team. This young lady, Allie Mack, Paul, you were there, from Temple High School. She had offers from Auburn, TCU. She then committed to Houston and signed with the University of Houston. That's her graphic she put up earlier today, or Houston put up today, that she is signed, sealed, and delivered. A&M now 5-1 over Notre Dame. Top of the ninth, and Notre Dame just had a player caught in the rundown between first and second base. So that's the Aggies are on the verge of playing Oklahoma. If they can close it out, and they would have to beat Oklahoma twice. Oklahoma would just have to win once to close that thing out.
It's been dicey since A&M starter has left the game, but they got out of the jam last inning, and now they're down to 2 outs. So
one out in the bottom of the ninth, 5-1.
They got 2 more outs left. Yeah,
A&M leads Notre Dame. The winner again will go on and play Oklahoma and have to win that twice.
The gold batting helmets look way better with these Notre Dame uniforms than those other, the navy blue with the whatever you call the accents. I know it was like part of the church, design or whatever the rationale was for the design that they did. But yeah, the all white with the gold chrome helmets actually look pretty decent. I like that look.
One other baseball note, today our good friend Kendall Rogers had this, that Texas is moving on from assistant coach and pitching coach Sean Allen. He was just a year ago named the D1 Baseball Assistant Coach of the Year. He oversaw the pitching staff that ended up with a hell of a year, but this year they did struggle. And although overall they had one of the best earned run averages in the country, 26th overall, we put that, I shared this, Paul, with you and Craig. Craig mentioned that their bullpen melted down quite a bit. I saw some of the discussion. From assistant coach of the year to the next year, you lose a couple of guys early with injuries, but they just struggled, and he's out now as the pitching coach at Texas.
Yeah, and Texas doesn't often go 2-Q when they get to the College World Series, and you kind of wonder what the move was going to be, even for a really good Texas team, because they don't. I mean, they're not used to in baseball. When they get to the College World Series, they're usually playing for more than 2 days.
Last year played for the national title with Mississippi State, and it was a great series. And, of course, we've already mentioned they've been there more than anybody else, but that was a quick decision by UT after their loss that knocked them out.
Yeah, but, I mean, he's not a specialist pitching coach.
No.
Like, that was a move that was made in part because of Tulowitzki coming on board, who's now interviewing for the USC job, I believe, is the report that's out there. So this was a situation where, I mean, he's not even in his natural spot, so to speak. And if you look at what – I'm not going to pretend now because it's College Baseball World Series, everybody's suddenly been watching all year long. But I do know from keeping up all year long that the biggest issue for Texas was their bullpen. So if you're going into a season and you're like, hey, what's our biggest problem? It's the quarterback play. Who do you look at? You look at the quarterback coach, right? Or you look at the OC, or you look at whatever the issue's been. And so if he's already not in his natural position, and that was clearly your biggest bugaboo this year, I mean, I think Kendall Rogers, the way he phrased it, kind of just threw people for a loop, because it was like, what a surprise. And I don't know how big of a surprise it was if you're a UT fan, that if, something was going to give and you're looking around, you're not going to change the offense. The offense seemed plenty good.
The offense may have masked some of the problems they had.
Definitely. Definitely. So, I mean, where else are you going to look? You're going to look at your pitching staff, and you're going to look at that bullpen. And so it just, I don't know, it seems like a logical move to me. I know it shuffles things a little bit for them. And we'll see what happens with Tulowitzki, but I don't think when you really look at the big picture, it's all that surprising.
2 outs now, runner on second in that game. A&M up 5-1, and tonight Auburn and Arkansas. Ole Miss hammered Arkansas last night.
Everybody was all hot on Arkansas after they drilled Stanford, but maybe you should have been more down on Stanford.
I may have just seen this and glancing. Levi, am I right that Ole Miss may have been the last team in the field? They're the last team in the college – the last team in the field, and they are right now a win away from playing for the national championship if they can take the winner of Auburn and Arkansas and take them down if they meet. One more picture that are breaking, Craig, off the radar. This is from, remember Matt Alkire NFL draft analyst. Look at the bass that he has. Not his hand. That's a hand of a 6'3", 220-pound guy who caught a 9.5-pound bass. And he sent that picture to me on my Twitter feed. I'm not a fisherman. We had Jay Yellis on yesterday, and maybe that's why. Caught 23 bass, a bunch of 4- and 5-pounders, and bass of a lifetime. And I don't remember where exactly he caught that bass, but up in the Pennsylvania area.
Well, that's going on the wall.
Oh,
you got to put that one on the wall.
Yeah, A&M has won that game now, final 5-1, and now they'll go back to play in Oklahoma again. His buddy Dan Thum caught it 2 days before he went out on the same body of water, a 9.5-pound bass. Again, I'm not a fisherman by any means. Enjoyed Jay Yellis in that Cast for Kids, by the way, coming up this week in Waco. But there is something about when you're sitting there, whether you're wherever you're fishing, and then that tug hits that line, it's just exhilarating. Absolutely exhilarating. All right, Craig Smoak coming up next. Off the radar, Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
I hate my job, but I don't mind getting up in the morning. I dread each day, but I can't wait to get out of bed. You ask me why, and what I'll say to you is true. Well, you can get breakfast tacos at Rudy's Barbecue. Scrambled eggs and brisket, they ain't fooling around. Sausage wrap, son, they're the best in town. Barbecue for breakfast, yes, it's true. Put a smile on your morning at Rudy's Barbecue. Next in line.
Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
It's summertime. There's picnics, reunions, cookouts, and so much to do. And Waco Custom Marketplace on Lake Air Drive in Waco is your home for the butcher shop that can help you with beef, pork, poultry, and seafood. They are spectacular at being able to deliver you whatever cut of steak you want. Bone-in ribeye, however thick you want it, that's great. They'll do it. Sirloin, T-bone, porterhouse, bacon-wrapped filet. And, of course, as I mentioned, they have pork, poultry, and seafood. Their Norwegian salmon is spectacular. Also, all of the sauces and seasonings you'll ever need, all the ingredients you'll ever need to make sure you have that perfect, flawless taste. So it's delicious whenever you take something off the grill. And a full-fledged bakery as well, with fresh baked bread and kolaches every single day. Up and down the aisle of Waco Custom Marketplace, you also have what you need, from knickknacks to snacks to more, at 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco, Waco Custom Marketplace.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street, right behind the bank, is a hidden gem in Waco. If you're a fan of bourbon, especially local Texas bourbons, that's where you gotta go. Balcones, TX, Devil's River, whatever it is, they've got it. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, plus the best selection of craft beers in Waco, seasonally churned out throughout the year. Whether it's spring, summer, fall, or winter, Riverbend Liquor and Wine, best selection of craft beers, a speedy drive-through window, and excellent customer service. Find out more on Instagram or just go by and see them. Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street, behind the bank.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. It's time for Craig Smoak's Off the Radar. Brought to you by Pickup Outfitters. Since 1997, we've been outfitting trucks, SUVs, and vans at 220 Lake Air Drive or createacommotion.com.
Welcome into Off the Radar here on Sikkim 365 Radio, Sikkim365.com. As mentioned before going to the break, Texas A&M polishes off Notre Dame 5-1 in the College World Series. So now A&M gets ready to face off with Oklahoma, and the winner will move on. The loser will go home, but A&M and Oklahoma is what's up next on the College World Series slate, thanks to the Aggies' win just a little while ago. And Paul, are you in particular, being I don't know if you're a closet Aggie fan. I think you're pretty open about it. Your dual allegiances to FSU and to A&M because of family, but are you fired up about this run like Billy Liucci and all the rest of the crew?
I mean, probably not. I mean, I don't bleed maroon like I did when I was a little kid, but I'm happy. I'm happy for everybody related to me, and that is. And look, I don't know when I'll ever get to experience a College World Series title. It's something I have to live vicariously through my family. So I don't know. I know that that probably in 2 or 3 days, Link Jarrett's going to be in Tallahassee as their head coach, which will be great, and hopefully he can bring Florida State there and get him a title. But man, I'll enjoy it. Yeah, absolutely. It's hard to do. It's really hard to do to win a national championship in anything. Now it's going to be harder for them because they got to beat Oklahoma twice.
Yes.
So
that's the way it's set up now. Is Oklahoma? They're unbeaten so far in the College World Series. Notre Dame now out as a result of the loss to A&M. A&M moves on, and that will start to take place. A&M OU tomorrow around 1 p.m. That's 1 p.m. Central Time. You'll get Aggies and Sooners, and if Oklahoma wins, they move on and they head on into further in the finals, and then you'll have A&M obviously needing to win, and if they don't get it, they go home. But if they get one, then we'll have a second game. Meanwhile, in the second part of the bracket, you've got Ole Miss sitting there waiting on either Arkansas or Auburn, and that game will be coming up later on tonight. You've got Arkansas and Auburn. That's a 6 o'clock start time between those two teams. So a little SEC matchup to see who will face off with another SEC team, and then potentially, depending on what happens with A&M and Oklahoma, another SEC team or a future SEC team. So they had a lot of SEC teams coming into this tournament, and right now we're going to be left with a lot of SEC teams at the end of this tournament, or one that will be joining relatively soon.
Well, 3 of the 4.
Yeah.
3 of the 4, and depending on Arkansas is playing who?
Auburn.
No, all of them. They'll all be. Yeah, you're right.
Except, Oklahoma just being the future.
Yeah.
But outside of that, that's what you got coming up later on tonight will be Arkansas and Auburn, and then the winner will move on to face Ole Miss. Arkansas lost to Ole Miss, and then you've got Auburn who beat Stanford. So we'll see how that goes. But, a lot of SEC flavor, and I saw somebody make the comment earlier today that it's kind of like football season in a way, and that's fair. I mean, you got to give credit where credit is due. So it'll be interesting to see how that all plays out.
Yeah, if anybody wonders how they do this, harken back to our interview with Steve Smith last week. The SEC's been kind of subsidizing their baseball programs through state scholarships all over the place for a long time. And look, what Jim Schlossnagle's done with A&M and getting them here into the semifinals for the College World Series in year one just shows that he was worth every penny that they paid for him.
How does TCU feel? I mean, there wasn't really much they could do about that, but man, it's gotta hurt.
I think they love Kirk Sarloos there, but again, I mean, you have a guy like Jim Schlossnagle who clearly is an elite. There's not many guys on his level as far as the coaches go, and he was dealing with at TCU and winning all the time the same stuff that Baylor's dealing with. As far as it's an expensive school to go to, it's a private school, you only have 11.7 scholarships, and he was making it work at TCU, and now he doesn't have to worry about that at A&M because, again, it's
money
doesn't matter there. It's subsidized. Even with 11.7 scholarships, they'll find a way to make it work if they want to, and much like the schools in the SEC do, they have some sort of either lottery program or whatever where the money goes to, that if you qualify academically, you can do that, which I don't see any problem. I think there's no ethical qualms about it. They're saying, look, you can get a full scholarship if we'll give you a partial for baseball and the rest if you just have good grades. So at least these teams have guys that read books. And I can't wait for the era of full scholarships because it's going to make college baseball a whole lot better, and it's already pretty cool right now.
Yep, so bracket 1, OU, A&M, and bracket 2 later on tonight. We'll see Arkansas, Auburn, and they'll go on to face, who emerges from that will go on to face Ole Miss. So that's the setup now for the College World Series. Big retirement in the NFL, although we've seen this before. It's not deja vu. Rob Gronkowski announcing that he is retired at age 33 from the National Football League, former second-round pick who's went on to just become one of the greatest tight ends, if not the greatest tight end of all time. Obviously, it dabbled with retirement before, came back, joined his buddy Brady. It's like, you know what, let's go win some extra Super Bowls while now just polish off this Hall of Fame career. But one of the most eccentric and lovable, and I could see where people would also hate him or be annoyed by him, just different personality-wise, but ultimately one of the more fun, goofy, kind of lovable characters in the NFL, and also one hell of a football player, but he is apparently calling it quits. So the journey in Tampa the last 2 years has blown away what I originally wrote about in college, big time, and for this I want to thank the whole entire first-class Bucs organization for an amazing ride. And he had said, the college part of it, he was asked about a dream job that he wanted to pursue and where that location would be, and he had to write about his future, and he always said he wanted to be a pro football player. But for the assignment, he had to pick the location, and he put down Tampa for the Buccaneers, number one reason being the sunny weather. And he said, I forgot about writing this report until 2 years ago when I had the opportunity to join the Buccaneers, and we saw what it turned into. So Rob Gronkowski calling it a career, unless he magically gets a phone call in December.
Here's what he's doing.
Yep.
He's getting out of training camp.
Yep, exactly right.
Well,
exactly right. At the very least, that's what he's doing.
You remember the Manning cast interview he did last year and said, look, to be honest with you guys, I have no idea what the playbook is at this point in my career. Brady just tells me where to go and I do it. And
his agent, Drew Rosenhaus, also saying via text, this could be a to-be-continued situation, saying, quote, it would not surprise me if Tom Brady calls him during the season to come back and Rob answers the call. So at some point, we will get a real Rob Gronkowski retirement announcement, but it remains to be seen if this is going to be it or not. But he's had a pretty full career at just 33 years old.
Great player, fantastic player. I saw John McClain, who will be on with us here in an hour, or less than an hour. He's on the committee. He said he could be a first-ballot Hall of Famer. Whenever that time comes, again, he has to eventually truly retire and stay away from the game for a little bit. But he's a dude now.
Yeah, fun guy.
Animal.
So, what's the last time y'all heard about Oliver Luck?
Like 2 days ago.
I mean, every time somebody asks us who's going to be the Big 12 commissioner,
he wanted. Didn't he get paid, or maybe?
Yeah, he's going to get paid. But the reason why I bring that up was because just yesterday it was announced that Vince McMahon, who is involved in this story not because of being a wrestling promoter, although he's stepped away from that that's also a bit complicated for the time being. But in the heat of, basically what happened is Vince McMahon and one of his higher-ups, John Laurinaitis, who's also been an on-screen guy but very much behind the scenes, it came out last week that the board of WWE stockholders, shareholders, whatever, they found out there's going to be an investigation of Vince McMahon and John Laurinaitis and accusations over hush money that apparently both had a relationship with an employee in the company and eventually paid this woman $3 million is what I last read to basically just shut up about it, right? Not make it a thing. So that got discovered somehow or another. Vince McMahon voluntarily steps down, although he's still doing all of the writing and stuff behind the scenes. He's just not the chairman of the WWE at the moment. And Laurinaitis, I believe, is out of the way as well for the time being while this investigation goes on. So I bring all that up because Vince is already dealing with that. And I would imagine with the XFL lawsuit and Oliver Luck, that's not something he wanted to really have dragging out a whole lot either because he's already got this new thing on his plate. And so that's why it makes sense that they did not drag out the big XFL Oliver Luck lawsuit. They settled. Terms are not disclosed. Oliver Luck had originally sought $24 million from Vince McMahon and the XFL, which was the value of his 5-year contract that he originally signed. And as we know, that contract did not last very long at all. He was hired to basically run the league and its relaunch, and they didn't even finish the first season because of COVID-19. And after the shutdown of that first season, they basically just said, throw their hands up like, we're not even going to try to do this again. Like, this is twice, and look out into the second time. So they didn't go through with it. McMahon fires Luck in April of that year, just before the league had folded, and then the parent company files for bankruptcy. So he argued that he had fired Luck for cause. Luck argued it because of, citing clauses and all of that. And, it got into the whole to-do was heard, and eventually it was going to go to trial, but they have settled. The amount to be determined, or maybe not ever reported, but that's one less thing Vince McMahon has to worry about. And I wonder if, Oliver Luck's not a name we're saying here pretty soon as far as the Big 12 commissioner job, or if he just got a big fat payday and he's not all that interested in running a sports league right now.
Somebody brought that up to me on a text over the weekend, and I could be... it could come back to bite me. I'm not saying we've had him on. We've interviewed him. We hit him with the new league and all that. I just think that would probably be boring.
Fair enough.
I don't know if that would raise or move the needle the way I think the Big 12 needs to move the needle.
Fair. Yeah, that's fair. But another part of that, if you'll remember the name Antonio Callaway and him getting involved in the whole to-do with McMahon citing that as the whole back and forth had to do with Antonio Callaway and the personal conduct policy and this and that. So they had some petty disputes. But anyways, Oliver Luck got paid. He settled with Vince McMahon. Now Vince McMahon has to worry about the whole other hush money thing that's going on right now. As a lot of shakeup is going on in golf, Nick Faldo has announced that he is retiring after 16 years with CBS and the Golf Channel as a broadcaster, stepping away. He'll be replaced by Trevor Immelman on the CBS broadcast, but the top golf analyst for a long time, he's now stepping down.
Yeah, it was really good. Really good. Faldo was really good.
I was one of those guys that I did not, when I first heard when he became an analyst, I was like, man, he's kind of a dry, he's damn good. Now, not everyone likes him. Like, not everyone likes what Romo is in football, but I enjoyed Nick Faldo. Plus the fact that he had 6 majors. He was dominant. He was cutthroat good. He's not afraid to make a comment when a guy hit a bad shot. Immelman will be a good replacement. He's been good. I've noticed him quite a bit recently, and kind of more and more his voice. And so that's a good from one to the other. Remember our late Butch Henry, the icon of Waco radio, used to sit there and complain all the time.
He didn't like it because he was British.
He didn't like him because he was a foreigner. Boy, of course, Butch was 80-something.
He hated anything above the Mason-Dixon line, so that's not really surprising.
I'll tell you, it is a really, really funny thing to hear when, Butch, why do you like Nick Faldo? Well, a son of gun don't talk right.
Yeah. Okay. And here's from the most country
dude,
but a human being that was just fun to be able to be with for a long time until he passed away.
Elsewhere in media news, Ryan Fitzpatrick, he had announced that he was retiring from the NFL. Well, kooky personality, lovable guy, knows everybody in the NFL basically because he's played with all of them at this point. He's on so many different teams. Well, he's the latest that's going to be cashing in with Amazon NFL broadcast as Ryan Fitzpatrick, after 17 years in the league and a recent retirement, he is going to be Amazon Prime Video's Thursday night football analyst, or one of their newest Thursday night football analysts. He'll be a part of the pregame, halftime, and post-game coverage, and he said, although my playing career has come to an end, my love for football has not. I'm excited to start this new chapter with Thursday night football and looking forward to sharing my unique experiences and perspectives with football fans. They just announced last week, and I think I brought up and off the radar, that Richard Sherman was going to be a part of these broadcasts as well. Tony Gonzalez had been announced earlier this year, so it's all coming together for the Amazon cast. You got Sharissa Thompson also a part of it. You'll have Al Michaels. You'll have Kirk Herbstreit in all these just variations, but Amazon's got the money. We know that, and they're putting their money into the product, and Ryan Fitzpatrick, their latest land as far as the broadcast goes.
MP on the chat room, he scored a perfect on Wonderlic. Is that right?
Yeah,
Ryan
he did.
Fitzpatrick. Yeah, he's a character. I really was disappointed last year. I thought early on he might help Washington just a little bit. Of course, that didn't last very long, but I think he'll be good on TV.
One of his problem.
Then he went and sat in the at the Bills playoff game without a shirt on.
Yeah,
he's going to be really good on TV.
Gronkowski's a personality, and Fitzpatrick is a personality.
That'd be a fun podcast. I don't know how much it would mesh, but it would be something.
Well, I think Ryan Fitzpatrick has potential to do kind of like be the next Pat McAfee in kind of a personality driven football podcast talk show, he could totally do that if he wanted to. And plus, he's been on so many teams and has so many stories about so many coaches and players. Just getting them on and not really even talking about football, just talking about training camp stories or game stories or things like that would to me would be amazing. It would be a great podcast.
So that is the latest with Fitzpatrick and the Amazon broadcast. It's coming together quite nicely. They're got an all-star cast assembling, that is for sure, and quite a bit of money behind it. Elsewhere, NHL, no games tonight, Stanley Cup Finals, because last night the Lightning finally got on the board, being down 2-0 to the Colorado Avalanche. The Lightning at home get a big win. No game tonight, and then tomorrow we'll have Game 4, Colorado visiting, but up 2-1. That'll be on ABC. So Stanley Cup Finals, a little bit of a break tonight, but back to it tomorrow. And those are just a few things off the radar.
All right, Craig, thank you very much.
And I intentionally did not bring up the quarterback story involving.
Yeah. Well, we'll do that with John McClain.
Because we got more of that coming. So
we're going to check in with Louisville here in a little bit after their commitment, Ruben Owens yesterday, but also the fact that they got a pretty good class going and a little momentum there. So we'll have an analyst, a television broadcaster from Louisville will join us in the 5 o'clock hour. John McClain, Hall of Fame writer as well. I just saw this from Paul Biancardi, covers college basketball. Jacoby Walter will announce his college decision tomorrow at 5:42 Central on his social at Jacoby Walter 1. His final list: Alabama, Auburn, Baylor, Kansas, and Texas. The number 17 overall player in ESPN's class of 2023.
And if people were putting their money right this very moment that don't have like super duper, like if they're not his best friend or something and have like the real insider knowledge, the betting favorite is Baylor to land him as of right now. So, we'll see if that actually takes place tomorrow, but that is definitely one if you're a Baylor fan to keep an eye on, because they are, I think, considered the favorites for him, and that would obviously be a big get.
That would be a huge get, and yet, of course, all of those teams, Auburn with Bruce Pearl, Alabama with the run they made, beat Baylor last year badly in the SEC Challenge and SEC Big 12 Challenge. Kansas, we know, the defending champion, in Texas with Chris Beard, and, of course, as you mentioned, Baylor. When we come back, the 5 o'clock hour, we will get a little bit into the Deshaun Watson story, but also Louisville with that commitment from Ruben Owens. All of a sudden, as you mentioned, that Jeremy Crabtree, they're in the top 10 of the On3 Sports top as far as recruiting rankings. What's going on with Louisville football? Satterwhite with the heat on him and more. Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Pioneer Steel and Pipe, best in pipe, metal, steel, best in helping you with anything you need when it comes to what you need product-wise or suggestions, and help contractors with metal buildings. They're elite at what they do to help you with that. And they'll take that project and help you with a contractor so it doesn't become a nightmare. It's done the right way and done very, very well. In 1943, they opened their doors, and here they are. Yep, they're still just rolling along. A new facility being built in Waco, one in Bryan that is also there already. So Waco and Bryan, and open Monday through Saturday, open from 8 until noon on Saturdays. If you cannot get by there during the week, they will deliver and unload the product because it's big, bulky, and heavy as heck because it's pipe, steel, and metal. 1943, they do it the right way. Great product and great customer service. PioneerBoys.com.
The secret to living your best life is pizza, obviously. Golden crust made from scratch, 3 fresh signature cheeses, and the toppings, crispy Old World pepperoni, savory Italian sausage, bacon. That's called a dream team. Find everything you need to live your best life and more at Marco's Pizza. Owner Bob Mock has been delivering pizzas since 2001 and is the proud owner of 4 locations in Waco, Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to be open in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Brad Boozer Jeweler, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. This is a great time for your business.
Exactly. And one other thing we do that a lot of people don't know is we buy jewelry, heirloom pieces, gold, silver bars, gold bullion, watches, anything you may have that you want to. If you don't want to use it and remake something, like I did an estate yesterday and I looked at 35 pieces, well, they're probably going to sell me back 30 because it's something they're not going to wear, nothing to use. So if you're looking to get a few bucks or to sell something or something you just don't wear anymore, I make my wife go through her jewelry box about every 6 to 8 months, and the things that she doesn't wear on a daily basis, this sounds horrible, but I take away from her and then I'll put in my estate counter, but then that gives me the chance to rebuy her something new moving forward. Instead of looking down 20 years down the road and you have 300 pieces of jewelry, it's something to refresh and make her buy something new along the way.
You want to know why they're successful? Brad Boozer, the owner of Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air in Waco.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, everyone. This is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like mortgage lending, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
Pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
They're going to throw, and they're going to score. It is Thornton celebrating with his teammates.
The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Ben Erlinson, who'll navigate you through today's financial climate. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Now, here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
Rich Bozich, WDRB TV in Louisville. We've had him on a couple of different times talking Louisville. I think once the last time with men's basketball, and now joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports with Craig, David, and Paul. Rich, thanks for your time. So what is the momentum you see right now with Louisville football?
Well, the recruiting momentum is substantial, and it's been building for a while. They started getting commitments back several months ago, mainly from, I think it's Pierre Clarkson, a quarterback, the son of Steve Clarkson, the quarterback guru out in California, and that's led to a few others, and other guys have joined on board. And I think at the current rate, they have 10 commitments in the number 11 class in the country.
How big of an on-off season for this is this for Scott Satterfield, who needs some good news because he's got a new AD and they've been average since he's been there?
Yeah, it's big. I mean, his first year he came in here and took over a mess from Bobby Petrino, who was 2-10, and they had a good season. I think they went 8-5, and he was voted ACC Coach of the Year. Then the next year was the COVID year, and it didn't go well for them, and a losing record, didn't go to bowl game. And last year, they didn't have a great year again, and they've been dominated by Kentucky. Then that's really hurt them. They haven't been competitive at the top of the ACC Atlantic and the way they were in the Lamar Jackson days, and crowds are down. Last year, I mean, I went to a number of home games, and the place was about half full. And at the end of the season, Vince Tyra, the athletic director, I think had some pretty serious discussions about with Scott Satterfield about his future. Some people thought he was on the brink of making a change. That didn't happen. And Scott's back for year 4, and he pledged to make a much better push in recruiting. And so far, he and his staff have done that.
So going into this season, there's a buzz that's positive and growing even more positive because of recruiting. But what do you feel like he's probably going to have to do during the season to really get people fully on board? Because obviously if they struggle, there's just as much of a chance Ruben Owens could, decommit and decide to go elsewhere. So what's kind of the key, do you think, for him in this season in establishing this and cementing it?
I think the key is the beginning of the season. If you look at Louisville's schedule, it's backloaded. The last 3 games are at Clemson, NC State, which is probably a top 25 team here, and then at Kentucky. So they start out at Syracuse on a Saturday night, and they go to Central Florida for another night game, then they come home and play a Friday night game with Florida State. I think they got to win 2 of those first 3, A, to build some momentum, and B, to get fans back on their side. I mean, you got a Florida State team in here for an ESPN game on a Friday night. They need to get it back to the way it was when they were filling the stadium and winning. So I think they got to win 2 of the first 3. They've dominated Syracuse since they've been in the ACC, beating them 7 out of 8 games, and all the wins were by at least 2 touchdowns. So they got to win that first game at Syracuse and then split the next 2, in my opinion.
You mentioned the crowd, the attendance was down. Is that just because they're not playing well, or is there something else to it?
I think it's because they were losing. I think people haven't been thrilled about the style of play, and you complain about the style of play when you're not winning. They've had some slip-ups on defense, and, it's been a variety. COVID, interrupted a lot of the momentum. People, they did allow crowds during the COVID year of about, I think, 25% of capacity, and I don't know how it's been, down in at A&M and Baylor and the schools in your area, Texas, but I think some people kind of held off on going to games. They got out of the habit a little bit, and when you're not winning, it's hard to get them back in the habit. And then that last game against Kentucky was brutal. I mean, it was by the end of the game in the fourth quarter, there were more Kentucky fans than Louisville fans in the stadium, and there was a big pocket of Kentucky fans right behind the Louisville bench, sort of heckling the Louisville players. So that wasn't a good final impression. So he needs to get it going again this year, and he knows that. He's been pretty open about it.
Rick, correct me if I'm wrong here, but there are a lot of people who will say, they're kind of getting these recruits because of NIL, and a lot of people will, but Louisville hasn't even really set up their big collective yet, have they?
It's in the process of being set up. I'm not sure if it's all the way set up. I know that Eric Crawford, my sidekick, has got an interview set up this week with one of the guys behind the collective, but they've got some other NIL opportunities that have gone on, and I think that's been the biggest switch they've flipped since the end of last season, is to get in the game in that level. And it's been a stark turnaround. I mean, I looked today in the Athlon Yearbook, which is out, and their recruiting last year in the ACC ranked 9th in the league. To go from 9th in the ACC to 11th in the country, that's a pretty dramatic change. I'm not sure anybody's ramped it up as much as Louisville has, and they can still sell a little bit of Lamar Jackson. I mean, kids that are seniors in high school now remember Lamar Jackson. They probably remember his Heisman year, and I think Louisville can still sell some of that Lamar Jackson buzz. They brought him back last year and retired his jersey. They're still trying to market the Lamar Jackson connection at Louisville.
How much can they market and kind of do that right now with Malik Cunningham and just the star that he is, the talent that he has?
A little bit. I mean, that's the one. Satterfield really hasn't recruited a big-name quarterback yet. I guess Clarkson will be the first big one. Cunningham was a Petrino recruit, and
right.
That's been a big flaw. He had a guy that decommitted and went to Florida State. Jordan Travis, who's the starter at Florida State, came from here, and Cunningham has been somewhat of a underappreciated, overlooked guy. He had a bad year, the COVID year, but last year he came back and played well. He's a very good. He might be the best dual threat quarterback in the ACC and one of the better ones in the country. He ran for a lot of yards last year. So, yeah, they can market him, but he's not Lamar. I mean, there's only one Lamar. We're not going to see another Lamar. So I still think they're better off selling Lamar and the excitement he had.
Rick, what did the commitment of Ruben Owens, which we brought up earlier, but what did that open even more eyes because of coming from the state of Texas? UT obviously is a team that initially that is appeared to be where he would end up, and did that open up even more eyes?
No doubt about it. It's a big talk radio topic here yesterday and today. There's been hints that he was going to come to Louisville for several weeks now, and that's not the kind of guy they've generally been able to recruit, even going back to Petrino or Charlie Strong, or especially pulling him in from Texas. I mean, Charlie Strong recruited some good players here at Louisville, but they were all from Florida because that's where his connections were. And Petrino and John L. Smith and Schnellenberger, some of the coaches who were successful here, really were good. They got the local guys, but they did a better job of getting 3-stars and develop them. So then for Louisville to get a 5-star to Texas, I can't think of any big name players they've ever gotten out of Texas or California. So it's a big step forward for the program, and people are talking about it. And there's a big rivalry here, as you probably know, between Louisville and Kentucky. And Kentucky's been on the improve under Mark Stoops and done a really good job. And they've out-recruited Louisville pretty consistently over the last 7 or 8 years. And I think there's some Kentucky fans who are even noticing what Louisville's done and wondering what the secret sauce is.
Wait a minute, Louisville and Kentucky's a rivalry? Obviously,
just
incredible.
Basketball.
Yeah.
Basketball.
Yeah, no. And Stoops has done a great job at Kentucky, no question.
Yeah, he really has. He's sort of a under the radar guy. And last year, I know his name was mentioned for several different jobs, Florida State being one of them, but they didn't make a change. And he has had great success, but Stoops has done it getting guys out of Ohio and Michigan. He's kind of cut into Michigan State's territory there for a while, in Pennsylvania and the traditional places where SEC teams go, which is, Florida and Georgia and Alabama.
So I got to ask you this, because you're on WDRB. You wrote at another newspaper for a long, long time. You've been now where you are for 10 years. Is that a TV station or a TV station combination website?
It's a TV station combination website. They hired us 10 years ago, Eric Crawford and myself, away from the Courier-Journal, where we're both columnists, because we have some forward-thinking people running our station saying, the future competition down the road is going to be all media people are going to be competing on the internet, and we wanted to get guys who could provide context for our website and draw them here to WDRB.com and to the TV station. So we write for the website 4 or 5 times a week, but we're also on TV 3 or 4 nights a week and more, during the NCAA tournament stuff or during football season. So that's what it is. It's WDRB TV, which we're a Fox affiliate, and it's WDRB.com, and we have apps and the whole deal like everybody does.
Now, you do a great job of writing, and that's why we reached out to you as well. To go basketball with Kenny Payne now, they had the transition with Chris Mack and all of that. I think that's the last time we had you on. Has Kenny Payne done what everyone needs him to do? Obviously, I still haven't played a game, but coached a game. But has he done what people need him to do so far to kind of keep everyone entrenched?
Yeah, he's done a great job of connecting with the community. Season ticket sales are already up 1,000 because he's reached out and done some public events and had a really great message. He's hired an impressive staff with Danny Manning, the former Kansas All-American and Wake Forest head coach. He hired Nolan Smith, who was at Duke and played for Duke, and Mike Krzyzewski's 2010 national championship team. And Nolan's father, Derek, played at Louisville on the 1980 NCAA champs. He hired Josh Jameson away from Oregon. They've gotten, I think, one good player, a 5-star from Tennessee out of the transfer portal. They've signed a couple of good recruits. They're looking for a couple more guys, but the big push will be for the class of 2023. And I don't know how much your people are into college basketball recruiting, but Milt Wagner played at Louisville. He's now on the Louisville staff and sort of an advisory, not an advisory role. He's a player personnel guy. and his son is DeJuan Wagner, and his grandson is DJ Wagner, who, depending on what service you look at, is either the number 1, 2, or recruit in the entire class. And it's pretty much at this point considered to be a battle between Kentucky and Louisville to get him. And Kenny Payne, I think, will be a star here. I've known him since he played at Louisville. He's a quality individual, and I think he'll do very well.
Well, since we cover Baylor basketball and they won the national title a year ago, and yeah, we keep up with it quite a bit. I have somebody on the chat, Rick, that wanted to know, how is Louisville doing so well? They have 5 commitments apparently out of California.
Well, that started with Pierre Clarkson. Steve Clarkson is a guy, I think he was on 60 Minutes, that he's like a quarterback. He's a guy that people send their kids to learn to be a better quarterback, and they got a commitment from his son Pierre back I think it was in maybe March or April, and other guys one guy from his high school team and some other guys who I think are friends with him have followed, and they've done a job of creating a buzz about Louisville football. I'm not sure about the NIL stuff, but we all know that every school is using NIL to their advantage, and they've just been super aggressive in going out and pursuing guys, and that seems to be, that they hired some different people in the recruiting office. I do know that much, and they've done a good job.
Thank you, Rick. Appreciate your knowledge and insight. Thanks for your time, Rick Bosich, with WDRB-TV.com as well in Louisville on Louisville football, getting that commitment from Ruben Owens, but also right now having a nice start to the 2023 class.
This is so weird to me. I was going to bring it up. We had to go. How he almost feels like, and I'm not trying to put words in his mouth, but you can tell he almost has to there's the NIL thing. It's like, we know NIL is going on, but somehow people are still trying to use that as an attack on Louisville, that they're using NIL to land a 5-star running back. Well, what the hell else are you using it for? It's the whole purpose. I mean, don't tell me it's not. I know what the NCAA originally said it was, and how garbage that turned out to be, because it changed within 2 hours after it was announced to what it has become and what everybody knew it was going to be, which was pay for play. So I don't think Louisville's got to feel any, not that he was feeling shame, but you know what I mean. It's kind of like you dance around the fact that NIL's probably involved in a 5-star running back going to Louisville. I mean, that's just not something that typically happens, but I don't know. I guess there's still just sort of that stigma there. But everybody's doing it. Everybody's doing it to different extents.
The problem is when you aren't what is considered a blue blood and you land a player like that.
That's my point.
Yep. Then all of a sudden, what
are they doing?
Yeah.
Well, what are they doing? It's all legal now. I mean,
that's what I'm saying. It's like if he had gone to Texas, nobody would have batted an F and I.
Yeah. If Texas legalized weed right now and the three of us opened a dispensary in the room next door, people would be no, it's legal now. I mean,
no, that's what I'm saying. So it's almost like I saw this blowback to Louisville, and I guess it's just fans having sour grapes that wanted Ruben Owens or whatever. But I mean, of course, NIL's probably involved. What else connection do you have? I mean, and if you read Ruben Owens' commitment, he talks about, charting his own path, and certainly he did that by going to Louisville rather than going to any other school that he could have gone to, from Bama to Texas to, whoever else. But if he had gone to those schools, so what? Just move along. But he goes to Louisville. Oh, my God. Oh, what's going on here? It's funny to me. It's funny to me, and Louisville shouldn't have to worry about defending that or any.
Nobody should.
No. Here's the thing that I find, and it's always been this way. It's been like that because of just NIL. It is amazing to me. A fan base wants a player. They love a player. They love the crystal ball. They love that they're going to get commitments from the player. And then the player commits to somebody else. Well, we already moved on from him. We don't really – he's got some issues, or somebody else is in it. And it's been that way. Now it's just you could say NIL, and some people can run with it as well.
And nobody loses commits. They had already moved on. All those things have been that way for a long time. Some of
that could be true, but
some of it is true, yeah.
It's an immediate deflection, yeah.
But when it's every single time you lose a decommit, then I'm sorry, it's hard to believe that that's always the case, that you just lost the guys that you wanted to lose every single time. I find that hard to believe, but some people feel the need to try and rationalize for whatever reason. But yeah, point being, we wouldn't be, hesitant to scream NIL or whatever if it was just about any other 20 teams. But it's Louisville, and I know they got the basketball history and all that, but look, it's a different world now. You should have seen that party that they threw for these recruits this weekend. That would have blown people's minds about 5 years ago, and now it's totally fine. So there's playing by the rules like everybody else, and good. I'm glad that he's going to Louisville versus seeing him at Alabama. The same thing that we've been seeing, or name a school.
And here's the other thing. If he doesn't like it,
He can
go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Here's a JW on what you were talking about, both of you. I just like seeing blue bloods getting triggered at top recruits going elsewhere, live by the sword. It's Hummus Hero, by the way. Brandon Ennis committed to Ohio State today. Buckeyes, we had that near the top of the show, and also Jeremy Crabtree from On3 Sports on that national recruiting guy, but also their senior editor on that particular segment as well.
Yeah, a couple 5-star receivers, and he gave a lot of credit to Brian Hartline, as he should. But, yeah, we talked about that more towards the top of the show, but that's big time. If you're a receiver, I mean, why would you not go to Ohio State, I mean, that's a program right now that has it going on. And, I mean, that core that they had last year, just filthy good. And I can't wait to see what Jackson Smith and Jigba does this year. I mean, he's going to be a player to watch, no doubt.
From Derwake, who's a Tech fan. Guys, if Texas legalized weed, it's game over. No recruits ever leaving this state. Texas SEC schools and Texas Big 12 schools would own the state.
Oh, I totally am on board with you. I think that's probably something that other states can sit there and say, like Oklahoma could say, hey, come here. And if we want to pretend like this isn't reality for a moment, be like, oh, nobody does. Let's be honest about it. Yeah, of course that would be an enticement for some people. And I just don't know that we're ever going to see it because we live in the state of Texas after all.
Yeah, we'll be one of the last ones. But I've said this for years. The quietest group of excited people when they legalize marijuana nationally will be college coaches of every sport, because then they don't have to swim upstream,
pretend
in a losing battle. Charlie Strong, God bless him, when he went to Austin, said the University of Texas is not going to smoke marijuana. That's like saying the people at this Kentucky Fried Chicken aren't going to eat chicken. I mean, there's no way in Austin, Texas, that you're going to keep marijuana out of the lungs of your football team, and it's just kind of naive to think now that it's something different than it is. And so, all these other states have legalized it. Texas is still holding strong on, what Richard Nixon told us to do in 1969. Thanks, buddy.
Nick says just because a guy commits to a college doesn't mean he'll end up signing with them. That's exactly right.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, too, is there's these celebrations going on right now, but it's June? So, I mean, it's fun for Louisville right now, but, I mean, we could very well in 2 months be talking about him committing to Miami or something. And so, yeah, you hope that if you're Louisville, obviously, you hope you hold on to him, but it is recruiting. So, absolutely, what we're saying right now could be outdated by next week, much less by late December.
That's also one of the default buttons when somebody commits that maybe
he's not going to stick.
Well, he's not going to stick, and yet if it was your team, whether it's Louisville or
he just loves it here,
Cincinnati or Ohio State or USC, it's part of being a fan. I get it, but there are certain immediate default buttons that I've seen them over the years. I've seen them on the sites wherever we are. I've seen them on sites all over America, and it's just kind of, to me, it almost is like clockwork.
Look, I had to watch Andrew Wiggins, whose parents were both FSU champion athletes, go to Kansas, and then I keep thinking about it every time I'm watching him have his best season of his career and watching the NBA Finals, think, man, that would have been awesome if Florida State would have gotten him. But am I mad at Andrew Wiggins for going to Kansas instead of Florida State? No, absolutely not. I mean, what if he gone to Florida State, sprained his ankle the first week, then played half the season?
It's his career, not yours.
No idea. Exactly. By the way, common sense, Oklahoma. So you like light beer? Well, we got 3-2. I have to tell you guys a story. You remember when I went to watch Florida State get pounded by Oklahoma? So a couple of my buddies from college and I went up there, and I had forgotten about the 3-2 thing. So we're in Norman, and again, it's less alcohol in it. So we go get some beer, and about halfway through, we're like, we are champs. We are killing this. Like, we got to get another one. I'm not even buzzed right now. And then somebody goes, hey, fellas, it's 3-2.
Did that take your ego and just shove it?
You know what? It was kind of also in that game, Florida State went right down and scored right away.
Yep.
And I thought, oh, hey, we're doing well. It was just the same thing. Hey, guys, you guys are the 3-2 here. That's exactly what they were.
Yeah, I believe that's changed now, though. As of a couple years ago, they have not done that anymore.
Do it again, Paul.
Yeah.
Let's see.
But I definitely remember going up there and visiting family, and yeah, you feel like you're drinking water, and you have 2-3 beers that are really more like having, or you have 3 beers more like having 2 beers. And so, yeah, it's a little bit different. But, yeah, I do think that they changed that a couple years back. But I'm sure we have an Oklahoma fan out there, or an Oklahoma State, Oklahoman out there that could correct me if I'm wrong on that. But I do believe they did.
From MH5, Louisville should not have to defend itself about the NIL. But can a madam still provide services to recruits and have it count towards the NIL? Laugh out loud.
If it's not legal yet, just wait a year. I mean, at this point, it's like, why can't college students have a madam? They put all the hours into practicing and...
Let's see. It's probably one of the restricted things, alcohol and gambling and all that they
For
can. Now, but yeah. But, I mean, look, Nevada, it's legal.
Alcohol.
Bunny Ranch could sponsor some NIL
drugs,
athletes.
Alcohol, and gambling. Those are the 3.
And tobacco.
Drugs, alcohol, gambling, tobacco, sex. I think that's probably the full gamut.
Yeah, you probably can't do strip clubs either.
Mike Games, if any athlete goes to an FBS school and doesn't do well, he can always transfer to his hometown FCS school. And we've seen that happen. I don't have any specifics in front of me. Paxton, I'm ready for Florida State to be good again. It's good for college football. He's a UT fan. Paul, are you ready for UT to be good again?
Look, I will take whatever I can get. Again, that's my blood money. If the Saudis want to make Florida State good again, then, I'm Phil Mickelson all of a sudden. So
Texas would put Vegas out of business if it ever legalized gambling.
That's the thing about Texas. I mean, we got to go here, but that's the thing about Texas that's interesting is, the no on the marijuana, the no on the gambling, the no on all the stuff that basically everybody else is striking rich with right now. And, at some point they'll have a whole nuclear bomb to unload as far as passing those things. But I don't know when we'll get to that point, because there's still some people who run this place that just better off not saying anything, quite frankly. So I don't know when we'll get to that point.
Well, we'll see what happens. By the way, there was one other note. There's a lot of things that the state of Texas is. It's not. Here's what I do remember. Craig and I lived in a dry county, Smith County, Tyler, Texas. Dry as a bone, but yet known as the wettest dry county in maybe America. In fact, there might have been a book written about it. But there, you could not buy beer. You could not buy wine. You could surely not buy alcohol. You couldn't go to a corner store. You couldn't do it. You had to drive about 18 to 20 miles south to what was Lake Palestine, Coffee City. And then you had to drive east to near Kilgore or north near Big Sandy. That was it. You could not buy it. And then all of a sudden, it was interesting, when I moved here in 2010, I can't remember when, but all of a sudden, they started selling beer and wine, and I guarantee you the amounts of millions and millions and mazillions of dollars. It was something with the Baptist Church that was very much solidified, and Tyler still are.
And probably drank the most of anybody, quite frankly, which is what was so hypocritical about it.
Yeah,
but
it was the wettest dry county in Texas, and also the fact that Brookshire's grocery chain was very much against it. Then I don't know exactly what happened. Eventually, I think people just got to be business people and started realizing, holy crap, millions upon millions of dollars are walking right out the door.
When I first moved here, you had to get a membership.
Yep.
And it was like the teetotalers are keeping a list of all the drinkers. Like it was 1922.
Well, you used to get a little like a card at the restaurant for you to have to show. It's like a green, blue. It'll kind of look like a ticket. All right, when we come back, John McClain, Hall of Fame columnist, with of course his thoughts on the latest with involving Deshaun Watson. Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Marco's Pizza, our good friend Bob Mock, owner of 5 locations in Waco, and also wishing him the best. Had a little accident. He's fine. Well, he's going to be okay. Had a chance to visit with him by text earlier today. Marco's Pizza, Marcos.com, fastest growing pizza chain in America, over 1,000 stores. Used to be 1 here. Now there are 5, and 2 of them recently in Hewitt, and also in Robinson, also in China Spring, Woodway, and in Belmead. In fact, we had them deliver pizzas to us earlier today here at the studio. Marco's Pizza, the pepperoni magnifico is loaded up with 2 different types of pepperoni, the all meat. They have the pizza bowls with no pasta, or I guess you could say crust on the bottom. There's different options, plus sandwiches, chicken, and more, plus salads as well. Marco's Pizza, Marcos.com. Pizza lovers get it.
Allen Samuels is having the Make the Switch sales event in June on the award-winning new 2022 Ram 1500 Quad Cab Lone Star. In June, the special value is up to $7,000 or get $4,000 bonus cash and 2.9% for 72 months. Ram trucks are designed to be durable, functional, and stylish. This legendary truck gives you that first-class feel. Allen Samuels in Waco, the place to shop for Ram trucks. First responders get $500 extra cash.
Come by. Let's be friends.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Did you know that 1 out of every 4 men have symptomatic low levels of testosterone and don't even know it? And if you think you're too young to worry about it, guess again. Low T levels can make you feel tired and grumpy, cause weight gain, and wreak havoc on your sexual desire and performance. Petty Clinic Low T can set up same-day blood screening and results, so if you're tired of being tired, I challenge you to man up and Google search Low T Waco or go online pettycliniclowt.com. It's a private clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Affordable, only $150 a month, includes lab work, office consultation, testosterone injections, follow-up visits compared to $395 a month in Dallas or Austin, and you don't have to fight the traffic. Petty Clinic Low T as board-certified physician consultations will provide the best form of brand-strength testosterone available. Contact Petty Clinic Low T today, just off Highway 84 and Old Hewitt Drive in Woodway. Petty Clinic Low T, helping men become the high-performance men they deserve to be. PettyClinicLowT.com or Google search Low T Waco.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. The team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injuries, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. It's time for our weekly segment with NFL Hall of Fame columnist John McClain. Brought to you by Pioneer Steel and Pipe, where customer service is their main focus, and best in metal, steel, and pipe for large or small projects, with 2 locations in Waco and Bryan. Family owned and operated since 1943.
John McClain, Hall of Fame writer. Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. Well, John, obviously one of the big stories today with the Deshaun Watson and Tony Busby, the attorney for those who have filed lawsuits against him. 20 of 24 have been settled. Your thoughts about that? I'm not that it makes any difference, I guess, on his suspension if there is one, but your thoughts about that?
there will be a suspension, and it doesn't have jack squat to do with the suspension. He could have done this originally for $30,000, then a total of $100,000, then $100,000 each. Can you imagine what it must have cost him now? And I've been saying for weeks that I believe the Browns, when they gave him the $230 million guarantee, they wanted some guarantee for him that these would be settled by the start of training. They're hoping that the suspension will be announced by the start of training camp. It'll probably be a news dump on a Friday night. But the fact is, I'd love to know who advised Watson against settling way back 14, 13 months ago when it could have been so much cheaper. And the four who have not accepted a settlement could want more money, or they could actually want to go to court.
John, how significant do you think the suspension will be?
Well, I think it would be a season. I was arguing with a friend of mine who covers the Browns. He thinks it'll be less. And I said, if you read all of those lawsuits, and there are so many, he is guilty of terrible judgment. He's caused embarrassment to the NFL. He's embarrassed himself. That's what the reason he's going to get suspended. They said if the suits go to court, it would not be during the season. So this would go on for the women accusing him at least another season. The main person who's been out front, Ashley Solis, has said from the get-go she's gotten death threats. You know, it's ruined her career, but she has been the out front person for the other plaintiffs, and I would guess ultimately she would end up with the largest settlement.
John, I know it's not going to happen, and I'm not even quite sure if it's possible, but I know that Nick Caserio did have to address, I guess, what online rumors about the trade being undone between the Texans and Browns. I mean, have you had to kind of combat some of those sorts of questions?
Those are some of the biggest dumbass questions I've ever heard.
Thank you.
I haven't addressed them because there was no chance. You can't undo a trade.
Right.
When you make a trade and a guy passes his physical, then you take all the risk. And he passed his physical, and he's the Browns' problem.
The best shot they would have, John, is if there's some sort of language in the contract that would undo it if he has any kind of discipline. But this contract for the Browns seems to be pretty ridiculous.
They said that they included some language in there, depending on the suspension, that would protect them. Now, they have insurance for contracts like this, and so if he's suspended for the season, it's only going to cost him like $1.5 million because they gave him that low base salary, because when you're suspended, you only lose game checks. So they claimed that didn't have anything to do with it, but we all knew they were lying through their teeth. It had everything to do with it. And what would be very interesting is if Roger Goodell said, we'll let you play this season, we're going to suspend you in 2023, when his money jumps up into double-digit millions. Then the Browns would scramble to redo it again and tell us it had nothing to do with the suspension.
What did you say you think the suspension will be?
A season.
The full season? And then obviously he would appeal that. And do you feel like they would go down below a full season?
I think that it would make Roger Goodell look really bad if he reduced the suspension, in which 24 women have all said similar things in their civil suits about what he did or asked them to do. Trevor Bauer had one woman suspended 2 seasons. No charges have been filed by him. There was the grand jury didn't indict him either. And I don't think he'll be suspended for 2 years. That's why I think he'll get 1. Anything less than a season, the NFL is just going to get bombarded with criticism. I think when they announce it, it needs to be a case where most of the people say, I understand, but there's still going to be a significant portion that thinks he's being railroaded because of who he is and how much money he makes. I think you don't want it to be where 70% is against your decision.
John, news coming down that Roger Goodell is going to testify in front of that House Oversight Committee that Dan Snyder will not testify in front of. How do you think that is going to go? And if Roger Goodell isn't going to shed any real light on anything that he heard about that investigation, does he have a point of testifying other than to make himself look cooperative?
None whatsoever. Of course, he's not going to reveal anything. He's a master with master PR people telling him what to say and how to react. It only looks good that he's cooperating. And as far as Daniel Snyder, this may be the best decision he's ever made, maybe the only good decision he's ever made. What purpose would it serve him to show up in front of a bunch of politicians trying to make a name for themselves with their tough questions? And it would serve no purpose for him to go there unless he was under a subpoena, which he's not.
You know, John, with now Cleveland in that position, what happens? They got this horrible relationship with Baker Mayfield. What do they do?
Jacoby Brissett was signed to be their starting quarterback for the games in which Watson's suspended, and the team that will be rooting hardest for them to lose as many games as possible is the Texans, since they have 2 more number 1 picks and other picks in the trade.
John, Rob Gronkowski, you believe in this retirement?
His agent doesn't. Drew Rosenhaus said he thinks Brady will give him a call and he'll come out.
Right.
And I believe Gronk is a first ballot Hall of Famer. And I tweeted, if he keeps coming back, I'll be on the other side of the grass before he's eligible. And I'd love to see him on a studio show. I think he would crack people up. He's irreverent. He says what he thinks. He's got a great personality. You know, he might be more comfortable going to Vegas and announcing WWE, but I'd love to see him shake up one of those studio shows.
He's funny, man. He right now is among the top 3 to 5 who are selling things on television. Barkley, Shaq, Brady, among isn't he? A bunch of them. Yeah, it seems like to me. All right.
Who doesn't like the Gronk? Everybody likes the Gronk.
He's a monster.
Look, I love his USA. Frank was in the Army.
The USA, yeah. Then he tried to do it
USA,
voice. Yeah. Thank you, John. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, guys. Sick'em.
John McClain, Hall of Fame columnist with us. Sick'em 365 Radio, 365 Sports.
It is interesting what he said about Roger Goodell. There's no, he's going to testify, but there's no way that he's going to throw an owner under the bus. There's no way that he's going to say, I knew all this stuff and I read this report and I decided that nothing had to be done about it. I read all these terrible things that happened in the organization and determined that John Gruden had to go, who didn't even work there. I mean, that it's going to be a dog and pony show with Roger Goodell going there, and he's going there because Daniel Snyder won't. So he's going to take the bullet for a guy. And if I'm Roger Goodell and I'm the 31 other owners, I got to feel some sort of way about this, and that, Dan, you've caused this problem. But we're the ones who
What is the number one thing that creates a suspension in the NFL? Damaging the shield.
Yeah.
Snyder has melted it.
Yeah.
In many, many ways, even if a lot of the allegations against him aren't true. All right, when we come back, Paul Catalina's Top 5, Sick'em 365 Radio. Tomorrow, John Wilner, who writes a lot of work out in California with the Pac-12, he'll join us as one of our guests. Mac Rhodes, who's normally with us on Tuesday, not last week, he was out. He'll join us tomorrow as well. Mitch Thompson, Baylor coach, will join us, baseball coach, on Friday at 3:20, introduced at a press conference Thursday morning at the Baylor Club. Sick'em 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness, they've got a pickleball tournament coming up this week. A pickleball tournament, not this week, but next weekend. They also have some elite amateur. In a way, tennis has kind of become like college sports, where you have amateurs who are still competing at the professional level. But the Victory Road Series VRS 1 through 3 pickleball tournaments at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness coming up this, not this weekend, but next. They have VRS 1 registration players ages of anyone before 12/31/22. Also, the minimum age of a player is 8 years old. It is one of the fastest growing sports in America. Pickleball, just like disc golf, people are finding that they love this. They're going to have raffle tickets, round-robin playoffs for gold, silver, bronze medals. They'll have, obviously, they have 8 different courts at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness. In fact, you can play them all the time. There used to be tennis courts. They turned them into 2 different sets of pickleball courts. It's incredible with what they're doing. The pickleball tournaments, again, coming up. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive in Waco, coming up at the end of June. Go to Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness website for more information. Register at pickleballtournaments.com.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
Payments for qualified buyers at 2.9% for 72 with 5,000 down, cash or trade. TTL Extra. See dealer for details.
Step up your ride at Richard Carr's Summer Savings Event. Find summer savings like a 2018 GMC Sierra SLT, only $432 a month, or a 2017 Buick Encore for $183 a month, or GMC Acadia for only $280 a month. Our vehicles go through a 172-point inspection. We pay top dollar for your trade, and 100% approval is always our goal. Find your next car or truck today at Richard Carr.
At Richard Carr, we give you more.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like our free First mobile app, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. That's the First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
In Texas, there's pea-size hail and baseball-size hail. Guess which one hit our house? We didn't even know where to begin, but we called our Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent, and he was so reassuring. He knew exactly what to do to get our house back into shape and our lives back to normal. Now, we're even more thankful for the roof over our heads.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Automatic Chef Canteen is a full-service micro-market vending and office coffee provider with state-of-the-art vending equipment, a wide variety of products, and offering custom-fitted micro-market vending office coffee solutions for your employee break room. You want a full break room solution and a workplace oasis? Well, Automatic Chef Canteen, locally owned and operated for over 50 years in Central Texas, also includes in-house mechanics on call 24/7 for fast, reliable service and maintenance. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchefcanteen.com.
This is Paul Catalina's Top 5 at 5:55.
We've covered the gamut in topics today. It's been a very diverse show as far as what we've gotten into. So, NBA draft, Thursday night. Top 5 landing spots for Jeremy Sohan from Baylor. He's invited to the green room. So one would think that he's got a very reasonable shot of going in that top 15, 16
I see him
picks.
as high as like 12 to 15 in the first round.
I think he's fine. Kendall Brown's the one that seems to be dropping off a cliff for whatever reason, based on a couple of articles that I've read. I mean, there's some, and granted, it could be like some dude who has no idea what he's talking about, right? Just some guy. But I mean, I saw one article said he could find himself in the second round.
Yeah.
I mean, if that were to happen,
picks 22 to about 40 are all about the same. I mean, like really, at that point, it's just how bad do you want somebody? Because outside the lottery, nobody's guaranteed the contract past the second year. So, yeah, it's all very different in the way the NBA works in the 2 rounds. But here are the top 5 landing spots for Jeremy Sochan. Number 5, the Portland Trailblazers. That would be the earliest pick that he would go there at 7. And this is a good fit. Look, the Trailblazers. I know there's a lot of talk about trading Damian Lillard and all that. I don't think they're going there, but he is a player who can do a lot of things and so can certainly help a team that was pretty good a couple years ago, maybe get back to the top pretty quickly because, again, this is a guy whose career elevated in a hurry when he got to Baylor.
There's a great article by the way, on theathletic.com on Jeremy Sochan. I mean, it's a fantastic article if you're subscribed to that website.
Yeah,
I don't know, Paul, the matchups. I really don't know what he fits. I don't know that much about some of these NBA teams and what they need. But Portland,
Yeah. Number 4, the Charlotte Hornets. Look, this one made more sense to me until I saw that Mike D'Antoni was going to meet with Michael Jordan about the head coaching job. Jeremy Sochan might be too good of a defensive player to play for Mike D'Antoni. So I don't know. If Mike D'Antoni's the coach, maybe that changes. And they might not have a coach by Thursday night when they do this. But it seems to me that someone who plays the kind of defense he would mean something to Michael Jordan, who, likes defense. But
I wish that meant something. Michael Jordan, like the player, man, you still think of that. But like pretty much everything he's done since then, it's just like, yeah, whatever. I mean, him as a management guy has been. I mean, if his name wasn't Michael Jordan and he didn't have the money to be an owner, we would not be talking about him in a non-player capacity. Exactly. Yeah.
Charlotte has a 13th pick, Paul.
Yeah.
And Sam Vicenzi, who's really good at what he does, doesn't mean that these are all right. Has them taking an 18-year-old kid out of Memphis.
Yeah.
Jalen Duren, who's a 6'11".
I think NBA mock drafts are
actually
all over the place
because of the trades.
Yeah, because of the trades that you can see in the NBA draft. It's a lot harder to peg. But I mean, Sochan pretty consistently. I mean, if he were to go top 10, that would not be a shock. I think him going top 5 would be surprising. Would be more surprising, but him going top 10 to top 15, I think it would be surprising if he doesn't go in the top 15 or so based on all that I've read, but who knows?
Charlotte has the 13th and 15th pick, so there's 2 different opportunities for him.
Yeah, number 3, the Oklahoma City Thunder. This should make Emery happy. His team, look, the Thunder have 1 million draft picks in all the next 100 drafts because they just completely unloaded their team a couple years ago, and he would also be this also makes sense that the Thunder may draft him and package him and trade him somewhere else. But if his name is called at that pick for the Thunder, it would not shock me.
12th pick in the draft, and that's where Sam Vicenzi has him being picked.
Yeah. Number 2, the New York Knicks. The Knicks like European guys. They do. And it just right where they're picking seems to be a fit. And there's nothing that the Knicks can't really – like if I told you something that the Knicks didn't need right now because they've been so bad for so long, would you say, no, they're fine, they're good?
Well,
no.
There's also a lot of smoke today about Kyrie.
Oh, God. What now? I mean, I'm shaking my head just because the Knicks are such a trash franchise, not like personally, but just I've been hearing about it's like if the Cowboys had just sucked for 20 years in a row, but we talked about them every year like this is going to be the year. That's what we do with the Knicks, man. That's what it feels like, at least to me. How long have we been talking about them? This will be the guy that puts them over the top. This will be the trade that makes it happen, and it's the same thing every year. Same thing every year.
Yeah,
I would hate this for Sochan is what I'm saying, but hey, he's the type of guy that go up there and be a big star. I mean, what do I know?
Kyrie's with the Brooklyn,
Nets, yeah.
But his name was out there as a bunch of stuff and smoke today, along with Jalen Brunson. The Knicks are trying to clear a bunch of cap space so they could offer Brunson a lot of money, $20+ million. His dad's a coach there, but Even the person, Fisher, who's reporting that says he still believes that Brunson will stay in Dallas.
But would that not be the most Knicks? Like, I'm not going to pretend to be some big NBA fan. Jalen Brunson's a really good player, but that would be such a Knicks move to go and like max him out and think that that's what they were going to build around.
Yeah, that's not to max him out, but it is to try to. He would be there. My
point is that I don't view him as that big of a star. That if you're like, oh my God, Jalen Brunson's going to the Knicks, he's a really good player. But I mean, he's not the biggest star on the Mavericks.
But is he the second best player on the Mavericks?
Sure.
So he's probably the second or third best player on the Knicks.
If somebody other, it doesn't matter. I mean, it doesn't matter.
His dad's on the staff. They like him. And what I'm saying is that the report is that they're going to clear space out for him, but that most likely he's going to remain in Dallas. There are Mavericks fans who like him, but they're not so sure he's worth $20+ million a year for them.
That's exactly my point. Of course, the Knicks would be the team that we're talking about. That would be it'd be a big deal to go and big deal for Jalen Brunson. And I'm going like, hey, if the Mavs keep him, great. If they don't, like, okay. But that's my point.
Yeah. The Knicks don't really have a first best player right now. I mean, if they're trying to get who their second best player is going to be. Now, maybe they wind up with Kyrie, but my thought would be Kyrie would want to go to a place that wasn't such a headache like Brooklyn was. And if he wants to leave there, I don't know. But Kyrie's weird, so who knows what's going on in that head of his. And number one, the San Antonio
Spurs. He's missed 130
Spurs.
games, by the way, in the last 2 or 3 years.
Yeah. Number one, the San Antonio Spurs. Look, Smokey, you and I are both Spurs fans.
He's a fit.
Is there not a more Spurs player in this draft than Jeremy Sohan?
Well,
Plays
he's not
defense,
Tim Duncan or David Robinson, but he does seem to. He would fit
rebounds.
Yeah,
Has a crap talking streak to him, but isn't really loud about it, which would fit the Greg Popovich way. Is like, say whatever you want, don't say it loud. Get under people's skin.
Carolina fans would disagree.
Well, I mean, but he didn't. Again, nobody. Well, if you watch the game, he wasn't doing anything demonstrative. He was just.
He got him back in the game. By being kind of a. I don't know what, an instigator in certain ways, but that's the only one. At least he did. Thank God, right?
Yeah.
Or they lose by 40.
I can't believe those fans have recovered already. I mean, it was such a traumatic experience, That was such a. I mean, I can't believe Jeremy Sohan's still allowed to play basketball. I mean, I've just never seen anything like it.
How in the world did they come back from 30 whatever it was down and then not handle the overtime? North Carolina came out and hit a couple of shots early, and that ended any of the momentum. That it, Paul?
Yep.
All right. Thank you very much again, Jeremy Sohan. There's a great article again, as I mentioned, athletic.com. on him and a lot of his background and some of the things we've already reported, things we talked to him about when we interviewed him over the years. All right, tomorrow, back at it at 3 o'clock, Emery Winter, Levi Caraway, Jack McKenzie, also Garrett Ross. Thank you, all of you, for being in what you do behind the scenes to make it sound so good, look so good, and make us actually appear to be pretty good. Paul Catalina, Craig Smoak, thank you to the chat room, text line, sponsors, all of you. Thank you. Good night. Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports.